Hello. Whoa, there we go. Hello, comics and pop culture people. It's your friend Brian, aka Bigby McFly, and my friend Ricky from All Sorts of Words hit me up and said, "Hey, let's hang out." So here we are, hanging out, and we're gonna chat. I think I titled the video uh, "Conflict, Controversy, and Chat." So
I
just
mean, yeah,
the picture of
that's an apt description of what happened. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? My wife's out of town. Come on over." And he was like, "We can't do this again." And so then we settled on this.
yeah, we just can't. I just can't quit you.
I saw that movie with my wife and her mother, my then girlfriend, now wife, and it was me on the left, her mother on the
Awkward.
right, my wife in the middle, and then behind us were a row of gay men, and everyone was crying but my wife because she can't cry at movies. And so my memory of Brokeback Mountain is my wife being beset upon on all sides by adults crying.
Hi, Tina. Tina is, I don't know if you know Tina, Ricky, but Tina is my wrench for my channel. She's my blue wrench, my henchman, my helper, the awesome person that moderates my chat. So,
Oh,
and
hi
she is up
Tina.
for a comic book community award for best blue wrench because she does a ton of other channels. How many channels is it now, Tina? It's a ton.
Wow.
Anyway, so you just wanted to get into it. She moderates 15 channels.
Wow. Good
So
Lord. Good for you.
yeah. So you just wanted to get into it and be all spicy tonight, huh?
I did. And you know what? I'm gonna start off and I'm gonna Babe Ruth call it and swing for the fences. I don't like pre-code horror.
You don't like pre-code horror. Okay.
I
You
like
know,
I get it. Like, okay, so like I get it. Like historically, its significance, the seduction of the innocent, I get it. But like for me in comics, every comic that I read and collect, I have an emotional connection to. And like
right.
I like literally just don't have. I wasn't born in the 50s, man. I don't have any emotional connection to those comics. And so like that each one of them costs $1,000 for the worst copy, and you're pretty much just paying for a cover because you're not going to tear it out of the slab if you pay $1,000 for it. So it's like
Right.
I have to be in love with the cover, I have to be in love with the book, and man, I've
Well, let's invite the chat to chime in on your opinion. So everybody that's watching, Ricky doesn't like pre-code horror, and I
I've
get that what you're saying. It's kind of almost like a trading card when it's in the slab, right? I mean, it's not like so.
yeah,
Basically, you better be getting a pretty awesome cover. There are some really awesome pre-code horror covers, though. But
like okay, and then I don't know, like I just like ooh, $1,000 for a skeleton, for a spider with a skeleton head. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
you like pre-code DC though.
I love. So that's the thing, because I have like that emotional connection with superheroes, and so like, although I do read a fair amount of non superhero comics now, um, I my love for comics began with superheroes, and so like I can't quit them. You know what I mean?
You just can't quit them.
I can't. I refuse.
I wish I could quit them.
Where do you land on is pre-code horror like something that you love, but then like maybe
It's
one day you'll own one?
I really respect the artwork and the covers. I don't think that there are other priorities in my collecting that I want to get a lot of the first appearances of a lot of the big MCU characters. Um, Tina says she loves pre-code.
They
Uh,
all do. I'm such an outlier in that. But I promise you, Tina, I've searched every cushion in my couch. I've looked through all my pants, and I can't find one rat's ass. I just can't.
she says she might be a bit twisted though.
No, I do get it. I do get it, but just like I don't
No,
care.
there's like I don't see myself spending that kind of money on yes, Ricky is she's giving all kinds of laughing emojis here. Uh Ricky's really funny. That's why we get along so well. But I don't see myself spending that kind of money. If I come across one in the wild at like a thrift shop for $5 or something, hell yeah, I'm gonna buy it. You
Sure,
know?
and I promise I will get it into the hands of someone who loves it. I promise if I found it. I'm not
It's
gonna like
like it's
start.
like Mike finding that Archie comic, right? That one of a kind. That's the only one on the census. Mike's not an Archie fan, but he's gonna get himself an X-Men #1 out of that probably. So
The only Archie book that I would get, I've been courting the idea of because I love the female comic characters, and so like you can't get more iconic than Sabrina. So like Archie's Madhouse and getting that
yeah,
one.
I like the innuendo covers, like the one where he's like, I had to beat off 3 other guys, and
Yes. I'm doing a video tomorrow where I'll be talking. I have an Archie book talking about how I don't collect Archie. Where the hell is it? I have an Archie book right here. Life
there
with
you go.
Archie.
Oh, that's the one. That's the Godzilla one, right?
Yes, yeah. This is the first image of Godzilla in a comic book, and it's on the first
Yes.
page.
I membered. I have some member berries. There he is. Sound of
There
metal
it is.
twisting. And Mothra. First appearance of Mothra.
Oh yeah, yeah. But just like I like that. That I'll get because I love Godzilla so much.
Speaking of Godzilla and Mothra, have you read Planetary yet?
I haven't. So I was finishing a book that my wife made me read for like a book exchange we did, and
I remember
limped
you saying that
through
you
it.
were like, "Oh, I'm so struggling to get through the book."
Oh,
Yeah, there
awful,
is a
awful.
there is a section in Planetary where they go to basically the Wildstorm Universe's version of Monster Island and talk about what happened there. It's really good.
That's dope.
So yeah.
Okay, so I just laid my soul bare for the internet and said probably the most controversial thing. So now it's your turn. Give me something spicy. Give me a hot take.
Give you something spicy. I'll give you something spicy. Dan from Dan's X-Men comics tried to poison me last week. Hang on.
What?
He came over to trade comics with me, and he brought over a zucchini bread, and he said, "Oh, my neighbor makes zucchini bread, but we always find it like kind of a little bit like too oily. It kind of has this odd taste to us." And so, but it's really moist and everything. I thought you might like it. And I was like, "Oh, thanks. Zucchini bread, right?" So I put it in my fridge. Totally forgot about it. It's like a loaf, like, maybe like, I don't know, the size of like 3 baseballs, about, kind of that big. And I cut off like a third of it the other night, and I ate a third of it, and I wasn't thinking anything of it. And the next day, I was like, all through the day, I was just like stomach and knots, kind of just feeling ill and just not feeling really well. Didn't really recall that I had eaten or connect that I had eaten the zucchini bread. And then that night, I came home and I'm looking through the fridge, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not really feeling like I want to cook anything or anything. I'm like, I'm just going to eat that zucchini bread and have a cup of coffee, and we're going to call it good, right? Within 20 minutes of eating that other 2/3 of that loaf, I was throwing up and
What?
running to the bathroom every 2 or 3 minutes. And it's like, dude, I mean, what, you gonna like poison me and then come offer my wife a pittance for my comics?
Yeah, that's the plan. So like, okay, so you're would you call yourself a Marvel guy?
Would I call myself a what?
Marvel guy?
A Marvel guy. Yes, I would call myself a Marvel guy.
Okay. Is there a big Marvel character that like you just don't jive with?
Oh, you mean like ones that everybody else is like all hot and heavy for, and I'm like, eh.
That's the one.
Um, hmm. I respect all the Marvel characters, but never been a big Surfer fan.
Oh,
Just
see, man, if see, I love Cosmic. So like if I was to get into Marvel, if I was to ever start anywhere, it would be with Surfer just because I love cosmic stuff.
right. I mean, but I didn't ever used to really enjoy the cosmic stuff, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and everything kind of opened my eyes to, hey, this could be kind of cool actually, and I've actually been enjoying it now. So maybe I would be more, but back in the day, I was like, Surfer and all the cosmic stuff. I was kind of like, eh, but now I'm kind of like, oh, it could be cool. So
That's what I love about Superman so much because like he is an Earth superhero, like he's here all the time, but he is firmly his lore is firmly ensconced in like cosmic nonsense. So like all the time something weird will happen in space and they're like just talk to Superman.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, no, now who was what's it Obito? His hot take was he didn't like Batman. He's like, I just don't get the big deal with Batman. He's like, I'm not a Batman fan. And I was like, whoa.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, dang.
I mean, that's like
Batman.
saying you don't like Spider-Man or something, right? I mean,
So okay, yeah, no, that's literally what I was going to say. So like if you're a Marvel fan, it is impossible to divorce Marvel the brand from Spider-Man. If you love Marvel, you love Spider-Man. It's one and the same. With DC,
right,
it's the
right.
same thing with Batman. It's if you love DC, it is impossible to divorce any of it from Batman. Like Batman's the best.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I was a Marvel zombie from way back, but I would say I was more of an X-Men junkie than anything else, though. Like it was more like the X-Men matter and nothing else really matters. So I was always like the Avengers, blah, back when I was first collecting, I was like, it's X-Men or nothing, baby.
But with X-Men,
So
you can get away with that. Like X-Men, if you treat it like its own pocket universe, you can have a great time.
yeah, yeah. So speaking of, hey, our thing is all about conflict, and I mean, you're not a Marvel guy, but you'd appreciate that cover, right? You know what that was?
I don't know the significance. I've seen the cover.
Oh, it's Mike Zeck. It's just the first meeting of Wolverine and Captain America. But it's a cool cover. Conflict. That's the theme,
Hey,
right? Conflict and controversy. So I saw the Marvels movie, and I told you that one of my big things that I got. So this is not a spoiler, guys. It's just there was a scene in the movie where Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, says, "There was people that needed my help." Literally says, I'm like, and my brain just couldn't. I was like, immediately went, "That's not English." She's like, "There was people that needed my help."
now, so do you watch all the Marvel stuff?
I just had heard a rumor that there was a big post credit thing. I didn't get it spoiled for me what it was going to be. I heard there's a big post credit at the end of this one, and so I went to see it the opening day. I was
For
the
the
only
book.
person in the theater. I was the only person in the theater.
Yo, like I don't know if you've seen comic book investments. He was like every day leading up to the release of the movie, he was like
Oh, he bags on all the Marvel movies,
no,
right?
but he was checking to see like okay, I think he lives in like San Diego and he was looking in his local theaters and they were like no seats sold, 2 seats sold on Friday and he's like it used to be with the old Marvel movies like you had to buy weeks in advance to get a ticket on opening weekend. But like this one it's just not doing so well.
Hey, we
I
got
don't know.
another person who wants to join us.
Oh God.
It's. I think the restraining order has been lifted.
Oh.
It has been.
Hello, Mr. Akins. You look a little tired. I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh no,
They
that's
kept me at work so late.
I'm old. That's the problem. I'm just old.
That's okay.
So-
I'm old too, but
Old
So
They
we're
kept me
talking
late.
about just like controversies and random hot takes and what do you got?
I mean, what are the random hot takes so far?
So far, I don't like pre-code horror.
he
Not
said
really
he
crazy about it.
blasphemed. He blasphemed. He doesn't like pre-code horror. He asked me if there was a Marvel character that, because I'm a Marvel guy, is there a Marvel character that just doesn't really do it for me? And I said Silver Surfer has never been a big,
Really?
but I've started to come around to the cosmic stuff, so I might change my tune on that. But
I can give you one. I hate Venom. I hate.
do not like
Character.
Venom.
That's good. That's
I
good.
mean, I get rid of
Eddie Brock or Venom?
the concept of so many. One Cenobite is a unique concept. 50 billion of them is
Oh, the
less than
symbiotes?
unique.
Yeah. I mean, they've kind of gone crazy with the symbiotes.
And I think they do that with almost any concept. Once it gets hot, then we're going to make 50,000 of them, and therefore it lessens the uniqueness of the original.
Right.
No, so yeah, comic books are a lot like an SNL sketch. If you got the laugh the first time, just let's do this for 20 more minutes.
Yes. So
like Batman Who Laughs. Like there was the Batman Who Laughs and it was awesome. And then there was like the Superman Who Laughs and then the Batgirl Who Laughs and
the bystander who laughs.
Yeah.
The Detective Chimp Who Laughs. Yep.
So yeah, Venom is one of those for me that I'm just, and he's on every cover and this artist does this one. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm like, yeah.
Wow. And so okay, but you're a big Spider-Man fan.
I love Spider-Man. Yeah.
Right. So some big moments in Spider-Man lives are dealing with Venom. Do you look at him strictly like an antagonist so that you can just you can enjoy Spider-Man more? Like, oh, he's beating his ass. That's great.
I feel like he should have been a one-off villain. Like, ooh, it's neat. We went through that storyline. It was great when you went through it the first time. But after that, I'm like, you just keep bringing it back over and over and over again. And I'm like, let me put it this way. I feel Spider-Man is better when he's dealing with street level, villains as opposed to cosmic villains. And that's kind of putting it into, a cosmic type realm. When it was the fight and he was making him do, it was taking over his body and he was doing things. Hey, I'm tired the next morning. And, what was I doing?
I liked that part of it. And I liked the original part with Eddie Brock and the whole deal with the conflict with them, all the way up to where they decided, hey, Venom's got so much appeal. Let's make him a good guy. And I was like,
so then you've got to hate Carnage then.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. No, and so I thought that I don't know, everyone I talk to about Spider-Man, it's almost like he's sacrosanct. There's nothing wrong with Spider-Man. All Spider-Man's relatively perfect. The new stuff not so much, but the
Clone Saga was awesome. Wait, oh,
it was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah, perfectly mind-numbing.
I mean, Clone Saga, Death of Superman.
Yes.
I don't know what the trifecta is, but the third one,
well, because here's the thing. Okay, so this isn't a hot. This is me being a nerd. Nightfall is brilliant, legitimately brilliant. If you haven't read it as an adult, I challenge you because it is literally. No, I'm serious. It's I'll die on this hill. It is literally a '90s character who says, I'm going to be a better Batman than Batman. And then old school Batman is wheelchair bound. And then this shitty 90s character with a million pockets and claws says, I'm going to be the new Batman and I'm killing people. Aren't I extreme? And all the fans are going, no, we want Batman back because it was a commentary on this is what the 90s is doing.
Yeah.
Tina's saying goodnight. She's going to take off.
Thank you, Tina. Thanks for your help.
The blue wrench is gone. We're
Yeah,
engineerless.
everyone can misbehave now.
The chat will go wild now.
Photos of buttholes.
Oh no.
Let the profanity fly.
Yeah, but so yeah, so like Nightfall is like, it's easy to go like, oh, Death of Superman, Death of Batman kind of deal, but like no, Nightfall is a commentary on how the 90s was turning everybody extreme and crappy. And it's so good now, like especially now. Like Nightfall's gonna have another moment, trust me.
Frank Miller is the reason that the 90s got the way they did. But that's, you know,
so
Dark
Alan
Knight.
Moore was right with Killing Joke was right before that, and Alan Moore regrets writing Killing Joke because right after that Frank Miller had all the success, and he goes like, no, it was a one-off, please don't make this the new standard, and it became the new standard. Killing Joke sold like gangbusters, like what, 4 prints on that thing for the 80s.
Yeah. Was Killing Joke Killing Joke was before Dark Knight?
Killing Joke was before Dark Knight.
Really?
Yeah, it was,
I had no idea.
and yeah, Alan Moore, he did it was an interview on a website that's now since deleted, but he absolutely regrets writing Killing Joke because of the effect that it had on the rest of the 80s, to be like, oh, so we're gonna make everybody darker now and everybody's more grim. And it's like, I mean, the guy dresses like a bat and he punches bank robbers. Come on, man. Can't get goofier than that.
Yeah, I would wonder what the other corner of the trifecta is, because we got, you know, yeah, like you said, Death of Superman,
That's super terrible.
Clone Saga.
Clone
There's
Saga,
got to be another piece to that that's like the awfulness of comics. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think on that.
taking a story and just not letting it die.
One more day, one new day, brand new day. What's the Spider-Man one?
Brand new day.
Let me put it this way: that broke Spider-Man for me. I haven't read another Spider-Man comic since.
Yeah, I didn't like. Yeah, that was.
Well, I think you said.
I mean, okay. Let me say, yeah. Well, was it you, Ricky, who had the thing where you said he goes to all of the different people in the Marvel universe, and nobody can heal a bullet wound.
Right. Yeah. Doctor
Strange
can't fix a hole in your ant. He can fix a hole in the time space continuum, but he can't fix a hole in your goddamn ant.
Angry Otter says, nothing bad ever came out of the 80s. It was a golden age. Pouts and shuffles away.
So that's our trifecta: Death of Superman, Clone Saga, and One More Day.
Well, see, that Spider-Man's 2 sides of that. Wow, that's pretty scary.
I'm gonna do some more thinking, because there's gotta be something where. Okay, here's one. This is Marvel. I read this and I hated it. I read this at the time, month over month. Disassembled. The breaking up the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Because
but Disassembled was good because it led into everything at that point. Marvel was like on a genius stroke that everything led into the next thing. So Disassembled led into House of M, which led into, it was just like boom, 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 boom. You know, everything had its own thing. So I mean, I thought that it was
House of M.
Okay, all the spin-offs for House of M were not very great. The main title was good.
No. I can't. I felt like it was because I was reading it month to month, and there were a couple. So that one and Civil War did the exact same thing happened at Marvel. So they came out with like a checklist, right? Here's everything coming out for Civil War. Get excited. Here's all the Civil War books. And then they started selling like hotcakes. And then they said, oh, my bad. Here's the extended checklist for all the extra books that are now going to be in Civil War. So there were 2 checklists. One that was like 22 books, and then it went up to like 60 books. Bananas. And so like they did the exact same thing with House of M, where it's like, okay, well, this is the story, that here's the checklist. Psych, there's more, because it was selling so well. So it felt like a lot of shoehorning. So when you're reading House of M issue by issue, month over month, it felt like, well, what actually happened in this issue? Nothing. And then what happened? I waited another month. What happened in this issue? Wolverine fell down. Like he fell really far. What happened in this issue? Like nothing was being
Well,
advanced.
So the thing with House of M, it was the whole what changed for these characters in the way that the universe changed, and it just wasn't. They just weren't written very well. As all the spin-off titles just weren't written very well. As all the core title I thought was good, but that's just me. So,
And that's what
hey,
what led into the 600 mutants. Daddy no
yeah,
more mutants.
yeah, and then they just recently.
No more mutants.
What was it? Scarlet Witch and
No more
Jean Grey's Hope Summers. They banished the Phoenix Force and they brought back all the mutants. So anyway.
Great.
I know you care. I know you care so much.
I do because I like the nerdy. I like the discussions more from these stories sometimes than I do the stories themselves.
Okay, I've got one. I know something that makes me angrier than Venom. And Ricky's I know Ricky's gonna have a definite opinion on this.
Okay.
Here we go. With enough prep time, Batman can beat anybody.
He can't.
Oh, it's just like Batman's cool. I love him. He is such a cool character, but he can't beat everybody
Right.
with prep time. He can't.
I will say the Tower of Babel story was really good. The Justice League Tower of Babel story, where Ra's al Ghul got a hold of Batman's all of his plans to how to defeat all of the Justice League. That was pretty badass.
Yep, and that's what led to Batman getting removed from the League because they're like, we can't trust you if you're gonna do you think Superman has crazy technology? Do you think he's building anti-us weapons in the Fortress of Solitude? He's not. So then why are you?
Right.
Right.
So it was in like 2006. There was a story called the Lightning Saga, and it was like 6 episodes, 6 issues long, and it was in Justice League, and it was the Justice League finally meeting the Legion of Superheroes, and I love the Legion of Superheroes, and Karate Kid claps Batman's cheeks, and it's so delicious. Karate Kid, his whole power is he's from the 30th century. He has a next level intellect, and he has mastered every form of martial arts that we know and for the next 900 years. So it's everything Batman knows is like a drop in the bucket for what this kid knows. And so he's mastered his own biology to the point where he was ignoring pain from a wound for so long that he eventually just passed out because, okay, your brain told you not to feel the pain, so he eventually passed out. But when he rolls up on Batman, Batman comments, I was reading Superman's computer at the Fortress, and he ranked you as a better fighter than me. So I'm looking forward to this. And Karate Kid's like, dropped his ass like a bad habit. It was lovely. Batman cheated to win. He did cheat, and he won. But it was, I don't care. It was great.
So I will say, I'm gonna show some love for DC. Like, I will say the storyline. What's the storyline? Which crisis is the Identity Crisis? Where Sue Dibney dies and
Identity Crisis. Yep. Dr.
Identity Crisis.
Yep. What is his name? Brad. Not. What's his name?
That story with the whole thing with the Justice League erasing Dr. Light's memories and messing with his mind, and then it turns out that they had to do that to Batman because he was like, oh, he pops in while they're doing it while Zatanna is erasing Dr. Light's mind and goes, what's going on here? And they have to all tackle him and hold him down and erase his mind. And he keeps figuring it out, and they keep having to erase his mind. And then it comes out that they did other bad shit. Like they went and they grabbed Catwoman and messed with her so that she allied with Batman. And she doesn't know whether she really loves him or if it's because of what they did to her.
I love it.
It's messed up. I love it.
I love it. It's messed up. I love it.
It's so flawed. They're so flawed now. I don't like everyone being so perfect, and when it makes everybody flawed and human, I love it.
I love that. If you haven't read Identity Crisis, like, please, it's so good.
Angry Otter says eating Taco Bell is the same level of training. If you can withstand that pain, you can get through anything. Love it.
What does Ra's al Ghul use to remain immortal? What is it?
Lazarus Pit.
The Lazarus Pit.
Hasn't Batman used the Lazarus Pit?
So Batman's relationship with the Lazarus Pit's weird because when his dad from the Flashpoint universe. So in the Flashpoint universe, instead of Bruce Wayne surviving and his parents getting killed, Bruce Wayne gets killed and his dad becomes a Batman and his mom becomes the Joker. Right. And that's that universe. And so that universe's Batman comes over to the main primary universe in the Tom King Batman run. It's really good. And so that Batman is like, hey, I'm going to fix the world so that my son doesn't have to be Batman, because being Batman is the worst thing you can be. So he tries to take Martha Wayne's body to the Lazarus Pit. And Batman has this moral quandary of like, what do I do here? Like, I could have my family back. I could fix everything. So has he been in it? I'm not sure. I'm not entirely familiar with all of the 80s Batman run, but like, I know he was in it at one point. Damian Wayne got put in at one point. Red Hood, that's how he came back, and he went nuts. So a lot of
Red Hood came back when they changed something at the end of one of the crises. They were like, oh, we're gonna put everything back the way it was.
Superman punched reality so hard that it fixed stories.
Something like that. Basically, there was a thing where at the end of the storyline they did a thing to fix all of the whatever had happened, and then at the end of it you see his fist come out of the grave. Like, they're like, oh, we kind of goofed.
No, I wasn't being funny. Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, and Superboy Prime were living in a pocket dimension after the end of the 80s crisis, and they were able to watch all of the world unfold through the 90s and the 2000s, and they hated it. And Superman, Jesus wept, Superman punched the wall so hard that it corrected the stories. And so that's
right. It was they were in a bubble where they could see all of everything unfolding. I remember that. Yeah.
And he said, "This is a job for," because it's the golden age Superman.
Did you ever read that Superman story? I really enjoyed it. It was it took place in the future, and it was Lex Luthor. There's a team of characters. Superman is dead. It's Lex Luthor, the Parasite, and Lois Lane are the main characters. And the Parasite has Clark's memories and a portion of Superman's power he got before he died. And it's so good. It was like a Days of Future Past storyline. It was really good.
See, that's what I love. That's, people say like, oh, Superman's boring. His character is so boring. Like, he's so vanilla. But like, no, he's wild. Like, his old stories. One time there was a meteor coming at the Earth in the Silver Age, and there's a meteor coming, and they're like, Superman, you got to stop it. And you're like, okay, cool. He's going to punch the meteor. He points at it. His finger opens, and a smaller robot Superman flies out of his hand, and that's what stops the meteor. And I just, I'm telling you, like, go back and watch Superman 3 with Christopher Reeves. The best part of the movie is when he rebuilds a brick wall with brick building vision. It's so wild. Superman's ridiculous.
What were they smoking back then to come up with some of this stuff, is what you're saying?
Everything. All of it.
All of it.
That story with the Parasite and everything was great, because there's a scene where the Parasite have to go take on the big bad, and he turns to Lois because he's basically the last vestige of Clark that she has. And he says, I think I can beat him, but I'm going to lose everything that is Clark. And it's really, tear jerker kind of like thing. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, find the name of that. I would read the hell out of that.
Yeah, I'll try to remember what it is, storyline. But it's really good.
So if you use the Lazarus Pit, what's the repercussions of using it?
You become less compassionate continuously over time. So like you just get meaner and meaner and meaner, and then you become more detached. And so I suppose always that what's his name, that Ra's al Ghul has the ambitions that he does because he's been in it so many times.
I'm gonna look up while we're talking that.
You become less. It's like going to work. You become less passionate every time.
Yeah. Yeah, if you worked at Rite Aid for 100 years, yeah, the one trip in the Lazarus Pit is working 100 years at Rite Aid.
Exactly.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm looking up a story for you.
I was like, I thought there was something going on. I was like, ooh.
I'm just trying to find out where that storyline is.
See, I'm always looking. You know, Batman has taken a lot of punishment over the years. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be something that doesn't make him superhuman, but can remain human. Because that's a pivotal part of who he is, that he's a human among gods in his story. And I always said, well, there's a easy plot device that they could use to do that, and it's Kryptonian technology to heal him. You just got to get to it. So he can take a bunch of punishment. Oh, I got, a lacerated liver, but from this last fight. But if I can get to the Kryptonian regeneration device, everything's going to be fine. It's not going to change who I am like the Lazarus Pit. Yeah, I'm still human. I'm still using just Kryptonian technology that they had, which they used to, regenerate this, that, or the other. And it could keep him going. Hey, I'm still human. I just use this thing to heal me up when I'm taking massive amounts of damage from these gods that are throwing me around like, a plush toy.
Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't use a like, oh, this is where I grow my livers. Like when I need a new liver.
Exactly.
Where I grow my livers.
Well, there was that was one of the things with the World of Krypton when they did that storyline, that the at some point in time in their level of technology, they had clones and they were using the clones for body parts. And then there was a clones rights movement to, hey, these are people, we need to let them free, and that was what caused at that point. And we're talking about, after Crisis, and they were rewriting the story of what caused Krypton to slowly degenerate and explode. Was what started the war that created that situation to where Krypton was degenerating. Stuff that they used during that slowly was going to kill the planet. So, but yeah, they were using body parts they had cloned themselves and they were using body parts. Oh, I lost a limb. Just go to the clones and take off an arm, take off my face, got mangled. We're going to take that face off of the clone that you've got and use it. So let's see, what's another hot take other than, I hate Venom. I hate Batman plot armor.
Here's one. I hate Thor because I hate Thor because I know what Jack Kirby was going through at the time when he left Marvel. So Jack Kirby was working with Stan Lee and he wanted to get weird with the Thor characters. He was like, they're gods, they're thousands of years old. Let's get weird with it. And Stan was like, yeah, it's got to be American, and like we got to make it normal for people to digest, right? So when he left, what's the first thing he did? What did DC promise him? The new gods, and so he made the new gods, and it was wild. The new gods are strange.
I just want to let you guys know the poisoner is in the in the chat.
This guy tried to kill Bigby. Tried to kill Bigby with some zucchini bread.
You're welcome to come in and defend yourself, Dan. Alexander says, I'm confused. Is this Krypton a crypto thing? Because I don't like crypto.
Yeah. They were selling like pictures of tacos, ruined their economy, and their planet exploded.
He says, Angry Adder says, to be fair, Superman 3 did have Richard Pryor, so there was definitely something being smoked.
Yes.
All right, so it's Superman 657 and 658 are that storyline I was telling you about.
Oh, I'll add them to my cart on my comic shop. That's cool. That's a cool cover. I have Parasite. I have a bunch of Superman's villains first appearances because like you can't get Superman because I'm not a millionaire, but you can get his villain.
Dan says you try and be nice to a guy. I know you didn't mean to. You didn't mean to get me sick. I know it was. To be fair, I probably shouldn't have eaten 2/3 of the loaf of zucchini bread in one sitting either. But
Yeah. So okay. Hot take. I don't like Thor because it could have been the new gods. Marvel could have had the new gods, but Stanley was too much of a.
So I have a question about Thor. Maybe somebody can answer in the chat, or maybe you guys know. But so I didn't really read a lot of the Silver Age stuff with him. But he was tied to Donald Blake. So when he tapped that cane, he would turn into Thor, and Donald Blake disappeared. Did Donald Blake go to Asgard when he tapped the cane and Thor appeared on Earth, or do they share consciousnesses? Because Thor would disappear and automatically know what's going on and who the bad guy is, and he wasn't confused at all. So
he was. I just Googled it really quick. Apparently, Donald Blake was the human host for Thor.
I understand.
Okay, so you froze there, Mr. Aiken. Sorry, we missed what you said.
See, I always felt like they were the same being, that they were they weren't two separate people. I said that they weren't separate people.
Okay.
Okay, so apparently, so the sentence I just read.
Am I froze up?
You're randomly.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you. Most of what you're saying. Angry Otter says, I actually liked Venom until the movie came out. Tom Hardy ruined it for me after playing my uncle. That's right. Tom Hardy played your uncle in the movie. So you read what now, Ricky?
Apparently, Odin made a human with like a humble background that Thor could be stuffed into. So Odin made a Kinder egg and stuffed a god into the Kinder egg, and he gave it a gimp leg and a Harvard education. Because that's comics.
Okay, so Donald Blake was not a real person?
Donald Blake is a Kinder egg. Bigby, keep up.
It was a
Kinder egg, whatever the heck that is.
He's a Russian nesting doll.
Okay.
An outer layer with a gimp leg and a Harvard education. And
Odin did that.
Odin did that with a spell.
Odin stuffed Thor into another guy. Got it.
He created a guy.
He created a guy to stuff him into.
Donald Blake is the guy that Thor is stuffing, is what I'm getting.
Gotcha. No, so yeah, I was curious. I'm like, what is going on with Yeah, I was like, so does Thor's like in bed with a bunch of women, and then Donald Blake appears there, and Thor's out in battle, or Donald Blake's like, wait, don't come back.
I mean, that does sound like some stuff a god would do. Like, oh, I've got a crappy kid. I'm gonna reprogram him into a doctor.
Well, there's that whole thing where in the Earth X where he's turned him into a woman to teach him humility or something. Thor was being sexist, so he turns him into a woman. So
it's a way to change your perspective on things.
It's a way to walk a mile in my genitalia.
Yeah, you were talking in a movie theater. Try a vagina. It's like every time you do something bad in life, like you don't like put the milk back in the fridge in the place where you got it from, like breasts appear. And you're like, damn it, Dad! Every time.
Every time. That sounds like an anime.
Every time, Dad. Dad, I'm so.
Every time I put the milk in the wrong place.
Did you take the trash out? Yeah. And then boobs appear. Great. God. But not where you want them. But not where you want them.
Dan says on that note, I'm out. The collecting casually says, I just got here, Dan. Don't leave. Hey, collecting casually. Good to see you, buddy. Also known as Ryan. So I don't know. You're not on IG, Ricky, but we got this whole thing going on IG where there's this group of us who are secretly controlling all things behind the scenes called the Illuminati, and we chat and we get all spicy. Today it turned into a supervillain battle or a superhero battle, right, Mr. Akins?
Yeah. First rule of the Illuminati: don't talk about the Illuminati.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of. Ooh, Alan.
Hey guys.
Okay, Alan, what happened in the Bigby Shack thing today? Who won?
Not me. It was Mike from Lunch Money.
Oh, Mike won. All right.
Mike won.
Okay, Ricky, hit him with your hot take that you had first thing.
Because I got a hot take about what just happened on Bigby Shack, so I'll let Ricky go first.
We're just talking about controversies, and I'm not really crazy about pre-code.
Oh, you're not crazy about pre-code comics like Golden Age?
Horror.
He hates them.
Oh, you don't like pre-code horror? Oh,
I don't like pre-code horror. I'm not really crazy about it.
He used the word hate.
I did.
Wow.
I do.
I'm like throwing down the gauntlet or something. Or
I'm into comics.
You see the thumbnail? The thumbnail was conflict and controversy.
Oh, okay. So now we gotta duke it out or something. But
Angry Art is asking if we've read any of the advanced novels. I have read some of them. They're pretty good. They would make good comics.
So why, Ricky, do you not like pre-code horror? Or are you just
I have to have an emotional connection to the things that I collect. I have to, and I don't have an emotional connection to pre-code horror. Like, I love horror, but my horror love comes from like movies and the movies that I grew up with. Pre-code. Did
you watch Creepshow?
I mean, I've seen the Creepshow movie. It wasn't like a thing that changed my life. And I liked Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt, yeah.
I like Tales from the Crypt, the TV show, but like, I don't know. Like, I just don't dig it. I dig superheroes. I like superhero stories. That's why I'm into comics for the superhero stuff.
Okay, but you like Vampirella.
I do. I do like Vampirella. She's not pre-code.
Yeah.
I know.
Dan says he loves hot takes. I think he also loves hot cakes, but
So I'm not sure what to say. Like, I mean, there's
well, no, so I don't know what to say. So this, I think that
I can't see why anyone wouldn't like pre-code.
I think there's a difference between I don't like it and I hate it. I don't hate it. I just don't like it. It's just not. I'm not crazy about it. If I'm gonna read a horror book,
Okay.
I want to go a lot farther than skeleton throws shovel full of dirt on woman.
Oh, I mean, the stories are way better than that.
But what you said originally at the beginning, Ricky, was like, okay, I don't see dropping that kind of coin on a book that A is going to be slabbed pretty much already and is probably in a 2.0 or falling apart, and I'm never going to crack it out and be able to read it. So basically, I'm buying a trading card with a piece of artwork on it.
Yeah,
But
pretty
look,
much. And then I
this
could
one's raw.
read the trades.
I have a raw copy right here.
Yeah.
Isn't this a cool book?
I understand your love of it, Alan, and I can also understand Ricky's disdain for it. I mean,
then Alan, give me a hot take. Give me a hot take.
said-
What's something everybody else likes in comics that you're not crazy about?
How about superhero comics? No,
I see your Robin in the background, you piece of shit. Don't lie to me.
Yeah, you got to show that to him. Did you see he got that when he got that, Ricky?
I think I remember. Where did you get that specifically?
He just got it
from
recently.
Man Cave. I just bought it recently, just maybe a week or two ago now.
Okay.
Show it off.
So it's pretty,
Show it off,
pretty
man.
recent to my
Show it off, bud.
All right. Yeah, so it's just a, first appearance kind of book. So we got first appearance of the Robin, and it is restored though. So,
Who cares?
but that's the only way I could afford it.
There's another dovetail hot take for you. I believe we're only about 10 years away from people absolutely hating themselves for passing up on restored books.
Yes.
I am behind that.
Yeah. So this is probably one of those books that I think was restored during the time when you restored books.
Right.
Right.
Everybody restored them.
It was everybody, like if you had a big book, you would restore it and you'd make it look nice. That's what they did. So they actually thought they were increasing the value, not decreasing the value. So basically I got this for like 1/20th of the value, something like that, of the same grade, like if it was Blue Label.
Yeah, I believe
this is like I know it's.
I think we're a decade away.
It's almost the same as like a 1.0.
I think we're a decade away from people being like, "Oh man, I could have." Like, you're going to be at a con 10 years from now, and somebody's going to be like, "Man, I passed up on a restored Hulk 181 for only $2,000. I'm such an idiot." Can you imagine? I wish I could go back in time. I really think we're on the path for like a decade away. People are going to be kicking themselves for passing up.
Well,
even
if you look at the census counts on. Yeah, the census count, I think the average is like 30 to 40% of the Golden Age slabs are actually purple labels. And in some books, it's actually 60%. That's like,
Yeah,
so
I can see that.
It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense that you would pass up on a like restored book. So yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think that's a spreading radiation where it's going to touch Silver Age next. I think Silver Age, we're going to get over Silver Age restored pretty quick here because the prices are getting wild.
It depends. Like right now, the prices are correcting so much on Silver Age. People aren't really needing to go to the restored books as much.
Well, the big books like Hulk 1 and like
the
FF
Hulk ones
1
and like
Showcase 22 right now on eBay right now. There is a copy of the first appearance of Green Lantern for $2,400 in restored 4.0, and then the next 4.0 up from that in Blue Label is like $6,000. So it's like a third of the price. So I'm like, I'm watching it every day to be like, someone's going to buy this thing.
Yeah, it depends on what the restoration is too. That's another thing. Like, some people look at restoration and say, okay, I could probably remove that and then get like a 3.0 maybe, and then it's a much more valuable book.
So what would you do to remove it? Say it's something to do with a corner. Is it better to rip it or is it better to cut it?
You send it to
don't cut it.
Somebody who does
you gotta rip it.
restoration removal.
So they'll
take it. They'll do it with like a laser.
Yeah, they'll actually, if you send it off to CGC, they have a restoration removal, division,
Yeah.
and they will actually remove that restoration. I'm not sure what they do. They probably cut it, which would be so like hypocritical. But
There was a
Sounds
guy
like-
that I watched on YouTube that he uses a
will
laser. He'll
remove it.
identify where the restoration was, and he'll go through and it'll just like it'll cut out all the little pieces that are restoration.
Which is, I would never do that personally, because I think if the book looks nice, why further damage it, right?
Right.
And there might
Right.
be techniques that they can figure out in the future where you can remove color touch, for example, without actually damaging the original fibers of the book. You
Right.
just remove
I
the
can see that.
ink somehow. You know what I mean? Like you separate the two.
Yeah.
Now, listen
So,
here,
you know,
Alan.
it's comics level.
Alan, Robin is not going to save you on this one. You have not given me a controversial opinion yet. I want you to tell me something about comics that you disagree with, where everybody else is going the same way.
I know some stuff that Alan disagrees with that we could get some.
Well,
we could
you
get
know,
some deep hot takes
modern
on this
books,
stuff.
Howdy.
I'm like easily, I'm controversial there. But
Alan, what's your
I think the
take?
biggest thing
Okay, I got
I'll
one, but
give you one controversial thing. This is one controversial thing that isn't that controversial. I think most people don't read their comics, and I am one of those people that doesn't read that many of my comics. I read a small percentage of my comics, but I think there's a lot of people that pretend to have read their comics, and and that's one of the things with the hobby. And I think we shouldn't be so ashamed to say, hey, we just love the book. It's it's a cool first appearance, it's a cool cover, and I think that's actually a cool thing to say. Just say, hey, I actually like the book just for the book itself. I might never read it, but I just think it's a cool book.
A lot of modern buys.
So that's controversial to say, because everyone's like, oh, you have to read the books and stuff. Well, sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you can just.
a lot of people are
I mean, I
collecting
can't
just
read
for
20,
cover art nowadays.
30,000
It's
books.
cover buys for sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question,
modern
Alan.
books, I don't even bother reading.
I'm gonna get the hot water going here.
Yes.
Alan, what's your take on the history of the significance of comic books as a historical thing versus the racial stereotypes in comics back in the Golden Age?
So, one of my favorite characters from the Golden Age, one of my favorite characters, two actually, I have two black characters that I like from the Golden Age. Both are hated characters. One is Little 8 Ball. I love Little 8 Ball. I think he's a cool character, fun character. He was in the Golden Age. There was a writing campaign by these people who thought they knew better that got rid of him out of comics because they thought he was a racial stereotype. So they got rid of him. The same happened with another character, Steamboat, another really cool character who was the sidekick to Captain Marvel. Awesome character. He would actually risk his life by jumping in front of like people with guns in order to save people. Even though he had no powers, he was just like a sidekick with no powers. And he would do that. Like, so he was a true hero. Whereas Captain Marvel, he didn't really have to worry about getting hurt by bullets. They would just bounce off him. So to me, that was really a cool character. But he spoke with like a Southern accent. So they thought, oh, that's racial stereotyping. Well, not really. Some people actually talk like that.
I know you've had a lot of people get like very in your face about that topic. So I thought,
Reggie
hey, there's one there's a hot button topic.
Yeah. Really? I want to hear. Hold on, I want to hear that.
He didn't like me at all for saying that.
For saying that you like those characters.
Or for saying, for saying he didn't agree with you about saying that these are historical documents. It's not, it isn't racism per se. It's not like we're publishing these books nowadays. These are documents of how things were in the past, and people were getting all over Alan about how dare you collect those things, and he was like, They're comic books.
I'll show you guys a comic. I'm going to show you guys something. 1 second. It's either this box or adds this box. 1 sec. I'm going to show you guys something.
We're gonna try and show the most controversial covers that we can show.
Okay, so this is a really controversial comic.
What are your thoughts on that, Ricky?
So okay, so there is a there's literally, it's called the Jim Crow Museum of Racist Imagery, and it catalogs this stuff, saying, and it's owned, it's black owned and black operated, because they're saying, like, it's that thing they taught us in 3rd grade, like, if you forget about history, you're doomed to repeat it. Deleting it from history doesn't make it not happen.
Oh, okay, wait.
You all want that?
Yeah. But this is not a racial, this is actually, I would say this is not racist at all. And, you know, I can argue this because I've actually read it.
Okay.
So,
state your argument. I think I remember seeing your video on this, but
not on
go
this
ahead.
one. I actually didn't, I did an unboxing where I showed it.
You
But
showed
this
the
one
interiors
is
to
like,
it.
it was basically like a, basically, you know, if I open it up, it shows this character, he's like a lazy good for nothing. And his mom is actually trying to, you know, get him to live straight, live like a good life. And, you know, they kind of show him doing a whole bunch of dumb things and you know, really they try to teach you morals. And it's not that they're looking down upon black people or anything like that, because his mom always tries to put him in the right way. So it's actually, you know, it's a book about morals, and it could have been, you know, it could have been a white character or whatever, you know, just as much, you know, but they just chose to do it with the black character because it was like, it was given in, you know, it would be handed out in the South, and you know, Southern Baptists would read this, and you know, it would even be given in black churches, so it wasn't just meant for white people, but it was meant to appeal to the people in the South, primarily black people at that. So if you actually know anything about African folk art, you will see that when they draw themselves, they will like actually kind of exaggerate their features in their own art. So it's just a way of, you know, depicting somebody. It's sort of like when you think of like characters like Elmer Fudd or those kind of characters where they have exaggerated features. They do that in order to, you know, really show that it is whatever, like a hick or or whatever kind of character. Well, in order to show a black character, well, you want to exaggerate their known features, right? Like if it's like if it's a Jewish person, you exaggerate the nose. If it's a, you know, whatever character it is, like for cartoons at the time, what they would do is exaggerate the prominent features that were known for that.
They would take the stereotypes, yeah. I mean,
so the only
stereotypes.
So where
and it wasn't necessarily that they were trying to do it in a racist way.
So that okay, so that's where I think. So I'm with you up to a point, but that's where I think the humanities professor in me kicks in. Where so Crump J. Strickland was a white dude, and so the
what's up?
Yeah.
The issue that you run into is once you use those features that you're talking about, like the, you know, like this person has big lips, this person has a big nose. You are making certain stereotypes okay, which, hold on, just stick with me for a second.
Sure.
You're making certain stereotypes okay, which opens the door for other stereotypes that are not true to also be justified. So if you say, not all, like my sister-in-law and my nieces are Jewish. None of them have big noses, right?
Sure.
So to say then that, and I'm not coming at you, we're just having we're having an intellectual conversation.
Yeah.
I know you are, but for the audience, I'm just letting everybody know this is how we talk. So like none of the Jewish people in my family had big noses. So, but if you say it's exaggerating a feature of this person to draw them with a big nose.
Sure.
Well, what other features in the comic book are being exaggerated that we can now attribute to this black character? We can say that this
On
person.
blast, you don't know what you stepped into.
So you could say like,
see, well, you want controversy. I'm the king of controversy.
so you could say, so you could say like in that book that uses an example, you could say that like, okay, well, the lips and the skin color are features that were exaggerated.
Yep.
Well,
totally.
Then what portion of the population that he's representing are lazy layabouts, and what portion of the population are strong mothers? Because I wonder if in that book, if the only two characters that are represented are the strong mother who's trying to point him right and the kid who's already an adult and not doing well, you could make the argument that it opens the door for dummies to say like, if it's just the nose and the lips, then it's also maybe it's their work ethic too. And
but they also have goofy white people. Like, so there are goofy people, not just black people. He's the only black character in it, but there's like this goofy white guy, and they also are stereotypes of like, you know, kind of people that are not necessarily the best performers of any race, you know. So they show not good performing black people, but also, well, actually just the one black guy, Snagglepuss, and then
Sugarfoot.
Sugarfoot. I keep on saying I'm thinking Snagglepuss, and then I'm putting the two in my mind together. So yeah, so they show him. He's the only one. Like, there's him and his mom, and then there's a bunch of white characters that they meet, and some of the white characters are kind of goofy looking too. So it's not like, you know, he's particularly goofy looking. They're all pretty goofy looking. But one of the things that is true, like, and it, like, stereotypes are usually based on some truths, good or bad. You know, like, you know, we might not like stereotypes, but it's one of those things that back in the day, people used stereotypes not necessarily to belittle other people, but it was a way of getting to know what your background was. And, you know, nowadays the take is so much different. Like, everyone's so sensitive and dumb. But but back in the day, like even back in the 80s, it used to be the way you would make friends with people is you would tear into them and you would make fun of them. You'd ridicule them, and at the end of it, they would do the same back to you.
Same.
And and you know, that was a way of bonding. You know, and the reason you did that wasn't just because you're evil, racist, or whatever. It was because if you make it so that you can say anything to somebody, then you can say anything to somebody. If you have the situation where you're paranoid, oh, I can't say this, oh, this might offend them, you're never going to be an authentic self to that person. You're just going to be always like step-toeing and, you know, walking on eggshells, and you'll never feel comfortable. You'll never be a friend with that person. And that's the big problem with the modern way of thinking of things. That's why, you know, I you know, Brian, I was saying dirty savages, right?
Right.
You were referring to orcs, though.
Yeah.
It's a completely different race.
Yeah, it's fine. You know, so the point is,
So
you know,
I agree with what Angry Otter said. He said comics are a commentary of the respective time periods and have to be looked at through the lens of history. I also agree with the statement of
that's true.
those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. So I mean,
Doomed to repeat.
yeah. So I mean, we gotta. These are
But
pieces.
it's
These
more
are
than that.
period
It's like,
pieces. I see what Alan's saying, that they were acceptable at the time. Just because they're acceptable at the time doesn't mean they're acceptable now. But we're not publishing them now. There's nothing wrong with collecting those
and
books
actually,
and respecting and looking
you
at
know,
those pieces of history. But
I think we have a tendency of doing a bit of revisionist history, where we sort of pretend to be better than the people that lived in the past. And I actually think that we are mistaken in that belief. I think a lot of the people that lived in the past, you know, my mom told me a story. Like, my mom, you know, she's older, but she told me a story of how I think it was her father, a black barber, and one other guy, like 3 different groups. Okay, like 3 ethnic groups, and they were all friends, all close friends.
This isn't a joke. It
But
sounds like the beginning of a joke.
it wasn't a joke. It was a weird thing. It wasn't a joke, but they were all friends. They all hung out together, and they would, they at the same time they were all sort of respectful and disrespectful of each other, which is interesting. But they were close because of that. Nowadays,
Ooh,
it's much
that's a
harder
hot
to be
take
like
right
that.
there. See what Otter said? Star Wars is a commentary on World War II and Nazism, yet people love the dark side.
Yeah, which is Nazism, like is literally fascism. Yeah. So, but I think we are mistaken about the way we look at the past. I think we try to think of ourselves as, oh, we're so much better now. I think that's a wrong way to look.
killing me here.
I really don't like the modern way of thinking of things.
Benjamin, you're yeah. Ooh.
Actually, I like Dave Chappelle. I like the one skit where he does the Nazi, the white supremacist one. Have you guys ever seen that?
Yeah,
Where
blind.
he's in the Klan and he's blind.
Yeah, that was so awesome. That was.
He
But
divorced his
the thing I
wife.
liked about that skit was the very end of it. He says like, he says that he divorces his wife because he could never love and love her.
I was wondering how close
That's
you'd
so
get
brilliant.
to that.
Yeah,
I
don't.
This is
So
a
I
very
see it-
white panel, and
No, so
I have
actually,
a job.
That's a word that
I'm sorry, I
actually
got us
don't
into
like.
this topic.
I don't like swearing, so I don't even like using that word. So I don't like using that word, not because I'm afraid of that word or anything like that,
Oh God!
or I don't think.
How
should
did we
be
get
allowed
in
to
this
use that word.
neighborhood?
I just don't like to
I'm
swear.
rolling up my window in my car, I'm locking my door.
You're the one who wanted to get controversial.
Yeah, I'm willing to be controversial. So one thing is, I really do believe in free speech, and it's important that we don't feel like we have to be limited. Like the funny thing is, I'm more paranoid talking to white friends about these issues than I am talking to, like, most of my friends. 90% of my friends are not white. They're either black or Indian or some, because I'm in Canada. Like Canada's very diverse, especially in Toronto was very diverse. Like I was a minority for the most of the time. So it was only around white friends that it was always like, oh, you gotta be careful because they always get offended, and like they get offended not for themselves but for other people, and it was really obnoxious. I always hated that. So I think that's the big problem with modern way of thinking of things, that people get offended on behalf of other people.
There's been some comedy stuff that I've seen that's been hilarious about white people getting offended for other races, and the other races are like, what? I don't have a problem with what's going on here.
You know what's funny? Like, they always make, that the typical thing where you see some white guys wearing like this big sombrero with the mustache, and the typical like Mexican thing. If here it's like everyone's offended by that. You go to Mexico and they sell you that. Here, do you want to buy the sombrero? And they'll actually sell you the costume, right? And it's the same if you go to Japan. It's the same. Like if you travel outside, you'll see that people are like, they don't care. They actually think it's cool if you embrace their culture or embrace, even the stereotypes of their culture.
What do you think, Ricky?
So
you wanted it.
I've
Ricky,
traveled
you
enough
got
that
it.
I just want to talk about some comic books and shit.
Well, you're
Well,
okay.
roundabout, we got into that from
controversy by
comic
saying
books,
you hated
but
Golden Age pre-Cold
I never
War.
said I hated it. I said I don't like it.
I see a picture. Wait, how do I do this? Right there.
That's it. You did it.
Okay. So yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
Hate. I love it. Any of the hate monger down there.
So what is what's your response to my controversy?
I can.
So
I try to. In all things, I try to leave room I try to think in all things philosophically that I'm wrong. And in everything, even if I don't like something, like I didn't like that movie, I love for someone to tell me, here's why I think the movie is worth watching. And so when it comes to things that offend people, if someone earnestly tells me they find something offensive, I find the fact that exists offensive. I don't see that necessarily as an assault on my intellectual ideologies. I see it as someone expressing to me that they themselves find it offensive. And so I'm always more interested in hearing about, I'm less interested in telling them why I don't think it's offensive than I am hearing why they think it's offensive. So if someone found that comic book genuinely upsetting, I would, my listening hat goes on, and I'm just more interested in hearing what they have to say, as opposed to saying, well, let me offer to you counterpoint before I hear you why I don't find it offensive. I don't find it offensive. I think it's important to remember things, but if someone told me that they found it offensive, I wouldn't find it obnoxious necessarily right away. I would want to hear what they have to say and why they would feel that way.
Sure.
Podblast
I'm a free speech advocate,
as a Native American.
I want to hear what they say anyways.
Podblast asked me, as a Native American, do I have a problem with the Washington Redskins former football team? No, I do not. And I also don't have a problem with Chief Wahoo from the Cleveland Indians, or the former Cleveland Indians. So, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it used to be, what's the word? There's actually a native term for red skin, where the natives actually refer to themselves as redskins. Like they actually, is it the Lakota? Like one of their names is actually
Lakota.
Really
I don't know.
nice.
I don't know what it means.
Lakota. It's one of them actually translates to redskins.
Huh. Interesting.
So they actually refer to themselves that way. So it's.
I'm just saying, as a Native American, I don't find a lot of the racial names. But, like when a lot of around here, they've got teams for the high school teams where they're like the Warriors or whatever, and they have Native American logos, and they're getting rid of those. And I'm like, that's kind of almost like honoring the Native American warriors, but they're
it's weird that the Washington Redskins, and they want to eliminate the Washington Redskins when the United States government has never honored a single treaty they made with the Native Americans. It seems like they want to erase them. And that's just another way of them. Listen, we can't see that. We can't. It's reminding you of stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Ricky, you just wanted to talk about comic books, didn't you?
Yeah, I think actually, like things like the Redskins and all these things, like the reason they had them is they had deep respect for the natives and how much they had fought for their land, and there was the battle between the two. You wouldn't want your cool team to have some lame wimpy mascot. You want to have like a badass.
Yeah,
and if they think natives are that
you
badass,
want Osceola riding out on the field with a flaming spear and throwing it right in the middle of the field. Yes, that's what you want.
Yeah.
But I can't. I can at least understand how, if someone was from a race of people that were in fact systematically wiped out, and there's none of you left, and then the people that killed you,
there's more natives now than there was back then.
But if the people, but the people that then killed you then made sports teams with like caricatures of your faces. Do I feel that way? I don't have a dog in this fight, quite frankly. But if someone did, I would understand where the logic came from. If we were the only 4 white guys left on Earth and everybody else got wiped out, and they made a team called like the Wily Whites, and a big cartoon character, I don't know necessarily if I would feel the way that I do, because I'm not a part of that culture. I've co-opted that culture for my sports team after killing you and taking your land. I'm just saying. Is it a hill I'm willing to die on? No, because it's not my hill. But I'm saying if someone came to me and said they felt that way, I wouldn't necessarily not believe them.
Okay, so I hate this whole taking their land crap. That's lazy knowledge of
Ooh.
history. Okay, that's just not.
Well,
that's just not based
you're
on-
Canadian though, and like we're Americans, and like it is very much baked into our history that no, we definitely did that.
No, okay. The natives were taking each other's land, and you guys, Americans just came in and was the dominant force. Taking
Sure.
land is human nature.
Mm.
Okay, if it is.
Well, you're
part-
losing
it's just the way it
Bigby.
is.
You're losing Bigby.
No, it's true. It's true. Like the natives were slaughtering each other before the.
That's as
Europeans.
close as you can get, I think, to savage natives.
There's so much historical evidence to prove that. Like,
the white people were
found
slaughtering each other
genocidal
too, but
sites,
that
they
doesn't mean
found-
that anybody was able to
That's true.
Right, and the Nazis slaughtered the
That's the
Jews. That
point.
doesn't make it human nature.
Right.
But the right of conquest has been sort of a thing, like in human history. If we maintain grudges and we say, oh well, who really owns the land? You'd never be able to figure out who owns the land because somebody took it from.
I'm not
somebody
saying
else,
about
and they
anything
took
about
it from that person, and it was
retaining
always
grudges or
stolen.
anything, but I mean, historically, that's what happened. I mean, but
Yeah, it did happen. It did. But the difference was at least the Europeans didn't have to genocide the group to get the land. They actually said, hey, you guys can live. We'll give you even a bit of the land to survive on. They might not have given the best land. They screwed them over. Sure. But they at least let them live. That is that's very ahistorical thing to do. Because generally what you do is you take whatever it is from a weaker opponent and you kill that weaker opponent, and then you salt the earth so that they never come back. And that's historically what was done.
I had a really good friend in high school that we were both involved in church and everything, and he at one point he told me that what happened to the Native Americans was okay because God showed that it was okay for the dominant people to come in and wipe out other people and take over their land. So that was, God wanted the white people
I
to come
don't think
take
of
the
it
land.
that way. I don't think of it that way.
I mean, but what he just said was a different branch, but on the same tree of your argument.
It's not that way at all. So had the natives won and killed all the white people, and then
how would the natives have won and killed all the white people?
They wouldn't have. I'm just saying if that's another possibility. Let's say that's a possibility, or whatever native group that owned that land before whatever native group that the white people stole it from. It's like, when is it?
There's two teachers on this panel, by the way.
When is it a bad time? Who is to blame? Who do you say, okay, they're the bad guys because they were the last ones to win the land? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, not to be combative, and I would love to get this back to comic books, but just
yes.
but
somebody's asking like, what's the next Marvel What If thing coming out?
Yeah, but not to be combative, but like this discussion began with your defense of a comic saying this is history, we have to at least look at it in a historical lens, and then evolved into let's not talk about history because it's reductive. Like, there are historical events that took place that were not great, that were perpetrated against a people, and I'm not saying that's the end of the conversation, but it is not as simple as Big Stick is justified because Big Stick was swung. And so I don't necessarily want to if we're gonna honor,
that's a very simple.
But if we're gonna honor,
that's a very simple way of looking at it. It's one, it was Big Stick versus smaller stick. That was bigger than some other stick.
Ricky is a professor.
A bunch of sticks involved. There was hundreds of tribes in North America, not just one or two. There was hundreds, and they were slaughtering each other. They were taking each other's land. All you did is add one more tribe. The European tribe came in, and they had a bigger stick than everyone else's sticks, and they took the land. But they tried to do it in such a way that they try to justify it with their own moral thing. Fine, that was not the best way of doing it, but every tribe does that. Every tribe says, like there's like monuments in Africa to Shaka Zulu. And if you know anything about Shaka Zulu, he was a great leader, but he slaughtered millions of his fellow Africans. But there's statues to him, there's monuments to him.
TJ says they could have taken care of them when they got off the boats. And nostalgic Podblast says, "Hey, Thanksgiving is coming."
But my point is, like traditionally we actually celebrate the conquerors, and the victors get all the spoils, I guess, and it's part of.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's right. I mean, but
it's hard to say what's right or wrong. Like,
I don't know. I don't see a compelling argument for pox-filled blankets coming out of this conversation.
Yeah,
but that's a myth. That's actually a myth. That wasn't true, and they didn't understand. They didn't actually understand how smallpox worked. And if you actually looked at it from a biological standpoint, it wouldn't work. Like the blankets actually wouldn't be able to transmit the disease. So that was actually a myth. It was more of a way of saying like give these dirty blankets. It was more of an insult than it was attempt to genocide a group of people or anything like that. So that was actually a myth. It's one of those stupid historical myths.
See, I can't say.
Ricky, the Podblast is asking if you're in Portland or Seattle. You want to say where you're at?
I am. If you've been watching,
general location,
not watching his channel.
If you've been watching the news, I actually live in Lewiston, Maine. So
you didn't even give
TJ's
all that
in now with the Trail of Tears. See, I can't say much because historically in my area, I have Native American and European. In my area, there's an area called Fort Mims, the Battle of Fort Mims.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had people fighting on both sides. So, which side am I going, for? So, so you once you start going, well, I'm this side or that side, I'm a mixture of both. I'm pure American, that I've got Scottish, Irish.
I'm not saying I'm on
Greek.
one side or the other. I'm not.
So,
I'm not actually against the Native Americans or whatever. Like, I'm just saying, I'm speaking from a historical.
Wow.
Actually, I'm trying to keep.
Podblast, you're from Portland, Maine.
Feelings out of it. Actually, I'm trying to look at it from a non-emotional standpoint, rather than saying, "Oh, I really wish they killed more of this group." Or I don't believe that. I'm more of it like this is the way history is, and looking at it from that standpoint, than looking at it like I don't like one group or the other group.
Do we need to move this back toward comic books?
But back
Did you enjoy that Jonah Hex graphic novel?
Has Ricky
Did you enjoy that Jonah Hex graphic novel? Did you read it?
Yes.
You did enjoy it, or you didn't
Jonah
enjoy
Hex,
it?
yes, it was very good.
Did you actually read it?
Yes, I read.
Yeah.
I read.
So it's just a bunch of short stories?
Yeah, I've got 12,000 comics, and of those, I've read about 10,000 of them. So, all the ones for those 20 years I collected, I read every single thing because that was my big thing. I was reading. I really wasn't collecting. I was collecting in a sense that I want to read this later to preserve it so I can read it later. Ooh, people are putting it in a bag and a board and they're putting it in this box. Hey, I can do that. And that way I know where it's at. It's an easy way of storing it and I can read it later.
I have a lot of respect for that. I've only read my Warren collection thoroughly, and then I've binge read recently certain runs of comics, but that's about it.
But
give me your review of Jonah Hex. What you thought of it? What you would say to other people if you were going to try to convince them to read it?
Convince them to read it,
or what would your recommendation be?
I like the fact. Well, see, I'm really big now into complete individual stories that are not like Ricky was saying, where you have to go to another and it's tied into this and it's tied into.
And then there's like the little asterisk saying you read this issue.
Collect this next
Right.
issue, and it's going to be, Venom is going to be in 15 comics this week, and so you're going to collect all 15 comics.
Are you tying it back into your hatred of Venom?
Yeah,
I
my
guess.
hate, my hatred.
Your
of Venom.
Venom for Venom.
My Venom for Venom. I like the fact that it was 6 individual stories. And so, yes, they kind of tied together, but you could have read one and then you're complete. It's like an episode of Star Trek. It's episodic. It's not like Game of Thrones where you have to watch the next episode and the next episode and the next episode. With Star Trek, you can watch one episode and there's a beginning, a middle, and a conclusion.
That's why I like Golden Age stuff. That's why I like pre-code horror. Back to why I like pre-code horror. It is very episodic. It's like not episodic. It's more self-contained stories.
Right. And so that's the appeal to that. I thought the art was good. I didn't think it was fantastic. To me, when I'm reading something, I can handle a bad story over I can handle bad art. If it's got bad art and I don't like the art, I'll start and I'll go, okay, I can't handle it, and I have to put it aside. If it's got good art, I can kind of go by and go, well, this is still visually appealing, and I can muddle my way through it. And then later on, I'll go, you know what, that wasn't a very good story. So,
so were the stories good though?
Yeah, the stories were good. I thought they were very entertaining. I enjoyed them.
I thought that the stories and the artwork were both really well done, and it was all self-contained. I like that, like you're saying, like, and it's just weird Western at its finest.
It's weird. It's weird Western at its finest, and it's funny that I think another reason I really enjoyed it is at the moment we've taken a break from playing D&D, my D&D group. We're using a different gaming system, and it's a Weird West type. The DM had decided to do a different.
Yeah, you were saying that before.
Do a different take, and we were doing that, and I'm like, ooh, that's what made me more interested in it as well. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Now I do have some.
Ricky, if you don't know what he's talking about, do you have it on hand? You could show him to him, or is it far away?
I had such a bad connection down there. I'm trying my best to get a connection into my room, and it just doesn't work. That's the reason I
saw that
glitchy, and I'm like, I'm just going to have to move up here to where I've got a better connection. I do have a if you want a hot take on anything that you did give me, Sea of Stars. Yeah. I hated it.
Okay. You hated it. Okay. Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
Oh, why was it bad?
I hate Jason Aaron's writing. I'm just going to go ahead and say
okay.
He's a fellow Alabamian. He's from Jasper. I try my best to love Jason Aaron's writing because he's from Alabama, but I can't stand it. I hated it. The best thing, and I was going to say it in the review, you know what the best thing about this comic was? The cover, because it was Mike Mignola, and then that was it. And I was like, I don't want to,
So,
I want to
I'm sorry, I knew a Jason Aaron book. You can pass it along in a giveaway.
When I was still collecting the Avengers and I was still reading them, Jason Aaron was on the Avengers. And when they started getting into these giant Shogun warrior robot battle suits and fighting Celestials, I'm like, I've had enough. And I said, as God is my witness, I'll never read another Jason Aaron book as long as I live. I was like, I'm done. I can't handle it. It was just, I don't know. It's just, I need a better way of describing my hatred that is like hotter than the slag heaps of hell itself for his writing.
There's a hot take for you, Ricky.
What about his writing? What's wrong with it? Like,
it's just that's the thing. I need a good way of describing it, like we were saying, a good argument of why I don't like it. So I need to think about it for a while because right now I'm too emotional and I'm just like, I hate it.
Stories like is it just?
It's the story. It's
just lacking
what's going on in the story.
Character development.
It seems like it's just bigger and badder, and it's not any character development in it. I hate the dialogue. That's another thing. I hate his dialogue. The dialogue
Dialogue's hard to write.
between the characters, he tries to be funny and it's not funny, and I'm like, it's okay, this is not funny, dude. This is
You love the Marvels movie then.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the reason. Well, after
It was terrible.
Well, I kind of wasn't going to go and see it, but I saw all these reviews that people were putting out about it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna see it.
I did a movie review on my channel, and
I saw it.
Two people actually said that they liked it, so I don't know. Maybe they saw a different movie.
Before we get too far along, somebody's asking, what system are you using for your Weird West RPG?
We're using BRP, Basic Role Playing System. It's based on a percentile system. It's really easy to use. Anybody can kind of conceptualize that it's going to be a % chance for me to be able to do this. So
Podblast is complementing. Is it kind of
like GURPS?
You're sure?
Are you familiar with GURPS?
It's a derivative of GURPS, yes. And the person that is running the game, he doesn't like 5e. He's completely done with D&D 5e. He said, I can't stand it. Partly because it's a level system. It's not a skill system. And he hates the fact that, well, I got to get up and level before I can do this. He feels like there's a lot of things that limit the storytelling and where we can go based on the fact that it's levels and not skills.
Yeah, I was a big fan of basic D&D way back.
He's familiar with that system. Call of Cthulhu is probably his most played game.
Yes, Call of Cthulhu uses that same. It's kind of the same system.
So I will give my review with no spoilers of the movie. Was that I thought that it was edited poorly, and that we needed about another 30 minutes of movie to make it make sense, to make it run smoother.
But
to make it run smoother, and then I also felt like a lot of the dialogue was forced. I'm not trying to get into any specifics or anything that's going to spoil anything for anybody, but I will say that there was one moment where I'm watching the movie, and Captain Marvel says, "There was people who needed my help."
Yes,
and I'm like,
you know what
that's
I said?
not even English.
Well, you know what I said about that? That's what you get when you write a script using Chat GPT and you don't put it through Grammarly first. That's what
right. That's right. That's right. So I was like, man, who was editing this or who wrote this where that got by? Like, there was people who needed my help.
That's all I'm hearing. All I'm hearing is people say Kamala Khan was the best part.
Yeah, but she was not even that great. But so
I will say that I like the gal who plays Kamala Khan.
I liked Miss Marvel, the series, the TV series. I thought it was okay.
But I don't think she was ready for the big screen. That's all I'm going to say. I didn't. She did a really, good job, I guess, in trying to play her character. But I just don't feel like she's progressing as an actress. Let's say that. I just don't.
So my big issue with her is, and all the characters actually, but her mainly, it was the fact that she didn't have any arc. She played the same character from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. She was like a fangirl, and there could have been so many things that they could have developed there. Like, there is a part where Captain Marvel's, glossiness or shine or greatness was kind of a bit iffy. Right? She did some bad things, and that could have put
no spoilers. We're not giving any spoilers. No spoilers.
It could have at least put in Miss Marvel some arc where she could say, maybe I shouldn't be such a fangirl. Maybe maybe these people are not the heroes that I put them up to be.
No spoilers. La 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 la. Don't let anybody else. Don't spoil it for anybody.
That didn't happen. So.
They can watch your channel for your review of the movie.
I didn't say anything. I just said, okay, you can watch my channel.
Go see Alan's channel if you want to see his review of the movie. For that matter, hey, everybody on this panel right now, Ricky, All Sorts of Words, great channel, sub him up. And Mr. Akins, What's on the Comic Rack, sub him up. And Alan, Comic Collector Geek, sub him up too. All great channels. So TM Nerdy saying, hey, Alan.
He's Canadian.
Yeah. TM Nerdy saying, hey, Alan.
Hey.
TM Nerdy saying, hey, Ricky.
Hanging out with TM Nerdy.
Hey, nice to meet you.
So people were asking, I don't know if you caught that earlier, they were asking who the other teacher was on the panel. So
it's everyone on that side, or that side is teachers.
Yes. So Ricky is a.
This is the right side of history.
Ricky is a what? Ricky, what are you?
I want everybody to know really quickly, just really quickly, like me and Alan have talked off camera before, and like that's why we're comfortable talking like this, because we're both men of intellect. So I enjoy you, Alan.
Okay.
I love your face.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
There
was no animosity.
You get what you get with me.
No animosity, and no panel members were harmed in the making of this film.
No, Golden Age comics were insulted, so I have to defend their honor.
I realize that movie's going to get a lot of hate, and I think that's what I hate the most is the actress that plays Kamala is such an genuine, nice person, and she is
a very nice person, and I think that she's going to be a better actress as time progresses.
Right,
but I just didn't feel like. I just felt like a lot of the it could have been the writing too. Just that a lot of the conversations seemed very stilted and not flowy, and it just.
That's because
I'm just answering nostalgic. Oh wait, is it backwards?
No, yes. It's right. It's
no, it looks right. I can't read it.
Oh, I said he was saying my professor. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I have a built-in sensitivity. I can't help it.
I think Swaggle did a very good video one time when he said what was wrong with the MCU. It's my exact same feeling that I feel is wrong with public education. They use data analysis to try to fit everything into a box that everybody's going to like, and it's not going to. It's not. For this one's not going to work. You can't make this one thing and everybody's going to like this one thing. We're going to make this one thing where everybody likes it, and you're not going to do it. They're using all this data analysis we got to check this box off. We got to have a cool song, because cool songs. That's what Swaggle was saying. He was like, yes, you got to have cool songs in it because we've done these surveys and that's what people are liking. We got to insert a joke and undercut the seriousness at this point because people said they like that joke in this, and they're doing a data analysis and trying to create movies that way. And what you're doing is you're creating soulless movies. It's like using AI to create music. It's soulless music. It has no soul. It has no emotion. It has no feeling. And I feel like that's what they're doing here. They're checking off boxes, trying to create a blockbuster movie.
So that was kind of what I was getting at when I was being controversial before, by the way. That I think we try to play it safe where we don't offend anybody, and then we create something that is offensive to
everybody,
one's brain.
Everybody.
It's just we just create stuff that's so like blah that there's just nothing there. We can't relate to the people.
What do you think is worse about people that are into the MCU and into these movies? Which do you think is worse? Those people that are still getting upset that I hate this movie and or those people like me that like, I don't care anymore. I've already gone to the point that I don't care about seeing the movie. Which do you think is worse?
For me, you're basically talking about apathy, right?
Right.
And I was a big Star Wars fan, big Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. I would pretend to be Luke Skywalker as a kid, and I would, run around, lights were fighting everybody and stuff like that. And the series of movies, the last 3, made me like question my loyalty to the brand. And then the TV series, multiple bad TV series came out that made me question my loyalty to the brand. And then they would come out with stuff and I'd be like, I'm just not going to watch it. And that was like, it's not that I hate the brand. It's not that I hate Star Wars. I still love the original movies, but I've been worn down by like disappointment and feeling that they're sabotaging the very thing that I loved. And
I will say that Star Wars, some of the stuff they've come out with just recently, like Ahsoka, I liked Ahsoka a lot.
was weak.
Um,
Ahsoka was weak.
I liked it.
So the problem is, I think what's happening is,
Weak.
I think what's happening is, Ahsoka is weak because of the fact that
She's weak.
if
She's got a
we want to
vagina.
compare it to something that was good, no, I have nothing okay. What Ahsoka was like a mediocre show. It was not great,
It was better than a
but
lot of the other stuff
compared
they
to
brought.
crappy shows, it appears great.
Mandalorian
Okay.
was pretty good. Well, I liked
First
Boba
season.
Fett. A lot of people
First
didn't like
season.
Boba Fett. I like Boba Fett.
Boba Fett was again mediocre. So the point is, Boba Fett was actually good up to a certain point, and then it kind of lost its way. And Boba Fett, he just seemed out of shape. He didn't seem like the go-getter that we needed him to be. Right?
Okay, if
So-
I'm just in the service of controversy. If I put on a hazmat suit and I searched my septic tank for the next 10 years, I could not find one shit to give about Star Wars.
Yes.
See,
Not a single
that's what
shit.
happens when you write bad shows.
I don't know. I never felt like there was a lot of meat on the bones in terms
the originals were good.
I just felt like there wasn't a lot of meat on the bones in terms of the universe until, because like it was the even the originals, like it's mostly the story that we remember in terms of the expanded universe was mostly given to us drip fed over 30 years of books and comics and extra stuff. The 3 movies and what you got, I didn't feel like there was a lot in them. We didn't know the names of the species until trading cards came out. It wasn't woven into like a story. It was, there's a guy in a puppet suit. So that's what we got in the movies. And then it wasn't until cards came out and magazines came out and toys came out that you learned the noise. It was all ancillary. Whereas if I get Star Trek, a new species is invented. They're woven into the story. They have a tale to tell. I just never got that same feeling from Star Wars, and so I didn't feel like there was enough meat in the bones for me to eat.
So you're of the camp. You're in the Star Trek camp and not the Star Wars camp. You're one of those.
And even then, like, and even then,
camps.
I'm not above it. Like I really didn't like Enterprise. I really didn't like I don't like Discovery. I like Deep Space Nine, Voyager, TNG, original
Voyager
series,
too.
and the
I
movies.
like Voyager a lot.
I feel like Star Trek has lost its way, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's been a mess. But with Star Wars, if you look at the originals, there was a feeling of hope, and there was also this feeling of a greater thing, a greater universe, and you really sensed that, and that made you intrigued to learn more. And even if you didn't get all the answers that you were wanting, you at least had that feeling that you wanted to know more about this universe, and it was a real thing in a weird way, that it had potential to be something greater. The modern shows don't have that. You don't really feel like, it feels like, oh, there's this set, and there's this set over here, and there's no real, like, it's just a set. It's like a standalone and not part of something greater. And I think that is kind of why the shows have been lacking, that there's just nothing there.
I think another thing that's hurting that people are saying in the chat, I think something else that's going on is people are the companies themselves are putting people into camps with this streaming service. You can't access it. I would love to access Strange New Worlds and some of these other shows, but unless you buy this streaming service and this streaming service and this streaming service, it's almost like Venom's going to be in 22 comics. I can't afford or
that's
get
really
to all that.
that's really good. That's really good. I agree with that a lot. I agree with that. We can't gather around the water cooler and talk about what was on TV last night. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, what's funny?
Right.
Like, we went from having like TV where you'd go on and you'd get cable and then you get access to whatever channels, right? And you had to pay extra to get all those channels and whatever. And then it went to streaming. And then streaming was like supposed to be like, just go to one place and you can get everything. But then it was like back to the channels again. It's just like now you get Disney, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, like Paramount, like 20 different ones. And it's back to channels again.
I feel it's also the same thing with
Very
comic
good
books.
point, nostalgic.
Meaning for TV, there used to be a lot of reruns, and I wasn't there when Star Trek first came out, but I saw it on reruns in the afternoon. It was readily accessible. Comics, I feel, are no longer readily accessible. It used to be I would go to the grocery store and there's some comic books sitting right over there, or I'd go to the gas station and there's comic books. And they were like right there in my face. And now you have to go to a specialized store that somebody may not have. I realize we have the internet now and you can order them, but they weren't like there for my mom to go and me say, hey, can I have that? And then they buy it and then you get it. It wasn't to me as readily accessible.
Well, I think the problem is the reason they aren't accessible is they've lost the appeal to the group that would require that accessibility. And that's the youth. Kids are not interested in comics. And because they're not interested, why bother? Like, you know, normally when you're checking out at like Walmart or whatever grocery store that you go to, they have the candy, they have the things that appeal to kids, right? All the stuff that, you know, will get the kids grabbing at it and saying, hey, mommy, I want this. Well, comics don't appeal to kids anymore. So the stores know that and they don't bother selling.
We're also I didn't realize until, I mean, you know, Ricky had that thing where 1 month of doing YouTube content, I've learned this from me doing YouTube content on comic books and looking at other YouTube content and the views that they get as opposed to the views, even the most popular YouTube content creator that's doing comic books. It is a small set. Let's say I'm dealing with something that's D&D related. I know 3 channels that are pretty good channels, and they're getting hundreds of thousands of views, while the big boys over here in the comic book YouTube community the big boys are getting 10,000. You know, they're not anywhere near 100,000 views.
Because people are not interested in comics.
Right. It's such a small insular clique of people that actually are interested in this. It's really small. And then, like you said, you've got that clique, and then there's cliques within those cliques of people that are just collectors, people that are not reading, you know, comics. So what are you going to talk about with the guy that's, oh, I'm into comics. I just collect. Well, I just read. Well, then there's a disconnect between those two people.
There's so much into comics now that like it's the equivalent of saying like, oh, I'm also into music. Like it's what information did you give me by telling me that? Like there's indie comics, DC. Like I'm specifically DC. Some of y'all are specifically Marvel. Alan, you're probably more Golden Age.
Yeah, well, nowadays, but I used to be into all the stuff. I'm pretty broad ranged in terms of what I collect.
Alan still collects all the modern stuff. They just have to have pretty girls on them.
Yeah. You should see. I got a whole bunch of books from recently. So yeah, I think the thing is nowadays, like I remember I had friends come over to my house, okay? And they had brought their kids, and I showed my comic room, my previous comic room, which was actually still pretty spectacular. I was like, hey, you know, my comics. And they're like, oh, who's this character? And they're pointing to Spider-Man. They don't know any of the characters. They don't
How could they not
really
know
care.
who Spider-Man is?
You'd think. But actually the problem is a lot of my friends they're not white friends. That's part of the problem. But
my friends are not my friends.
That your friends are not white, or that
they
or that they don't know the comic.
They don't know the North American culture that well. You know, it's just
okay.
Yeah, they're just not as familiar.
It's funny that you say that I took mine. You know, I've got a whole comic book room, and I've got the statues and the comics set up, and I go down there, and I'm like, I wanted to film her really because she had some really neat explanations of who these people were. There were some that she knew. It was funny that she knew Spider-Man. She knows the Hulk, but the black suit Spider-Man, she's calling that Venom. It's funny. I hated it because I'm like, you know who Venom is, but you don't know who this other character is. I'm sitting there thinking, I hate Venom so much.
But Venom's the best character, isn't it?
Do what?
That was his hot take, because he doesn't like Venom.
Yeah.
It
was weird to me that which one she could identify and go, oh, there's Spider-Man. Oh, there's a Hulk. Oh, there's Captain America. but the ones that she couldn't. But it's funny to me that they couldn't even identify Spider-Man.
So so with my friends, what it was is their kids could identify Spider-Man. The adults didn't. So my friends are like the ones that they were Iranian, so they did. I don't know why they didn't know Spider-Man though. It's kind of weird. But the kids knew Spider-Man, but they didn't know X-Men. I was like, whoa, you don't know X? Like I would have thought kids would know X-Men, but
well, I mean, think about it. Aside from the First Class movies, like X-Men have been out of the zeitgeist for like 20 years.
And even First Class, when did that come out? Like that's more than 10 years now, right?
Yeah, and the third movie in the franchise was like a resounding bomb for them. Like it did not do well.
I actually liked this franchise, to tell you the truth.
Wasn't the Phoenix movie like just like a couple years ago?
Yeah,
wasn't the Phoenix movie like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, the Phoenix one.
But nobody really watched that, so.
Well, it was a movie.
But yeah, I was surprised. So they knew the kids knew they didn't know X-Men, but they knew Spider-Man.
Well, this is the reason I think, what is it? Showcase.
Yes, Angry Otter. You're absolutely right. Angry Otter.
First appearance of the Teen Titans. I think that one will be a very important book later on because the characters she does know, she knew all Teen Titans Go. Oh, this is Teen Titans Go. Oh, that's Cyborg. Right. Oh, so you're thinking like people that grew up in the 90s with the X-Men cartoon that got them into, well, you know what? There's X-Men comics and they started doing that. Teen Titans Go, I think, is getting a lot of kids to go, oh, there's some characters over here that are, in this book that look like the ones I saw on TV.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, Teen Titans Go has, I think it's literally it's existed for like, 15 years now?
Teen Titans Go is pretty fun. I enjoy that show.
It is. It's funny.
Yeah, it's quite good.
So I want to circle back to what you were saying about the what's worse, the apathy or the, or the animosity.
Yes.
I want to encourage everybody to go and see the Marvels and make their own opinion. There is some great post-credit stuff going on that you want to see.
That's true.
I really enjoyed that part of it for sure. Don't say anything about post-credit.
No. I'm not saying anything about the movie. Was there more than one post-credit, or was there just the one?
There were two. There were two.
I missed
People don't even want to know that. I mean, you're spoiling it.
Okay, I only saw one post-credit. I didn't stay to the very, very, very end. Because I was so bored by that point.
Well, there you go. So there's that. But think about the time period where we came from, where we didn't have any movies at all. And I don't want it to get back to that. So I'm encouraging people, go see those. We don't, appreciate what we
that's
do
why
have,
I go
right?
see it. That's why I actually went to the Marvels. I give every movie a chance. Believe it or not. Like I go in.
And I think people are saying
I agree, but not my money. I give every movie a chance, just not my money.
I'll
download the bitch out of that movie.
Movies.
I will steal the hell out of it when it comes out, but I won't necessarily I pirate unabashedly, and I will pirate the shit out of that movie. I don't need to give Disney another penny.
You're more lefty on the way that you think about these things, and yet you don't support the very things that you are.
No, I don't support the company that makes the movies I don't like. I agree with you. Absolutely. I do not support. I don't like Star Wars. I don't like the new Marvel movies. So then why did they haven't made a good movie, in my opinion. They haven't made a movie that I went like, yo, you gotta see this since Endgame. And that was like 8 years ago, 7 years ago,
Sony
5
did
years ago.
With Spider-Man. Spider-Man was good.
That's not a Marvel movie. That's a Sony movie. It's not a Marvel movie.
Well, it's a Marvel character, so
I know, but there's different companies that work with different licenses, and Marvel has not made those Spider-Man movies. That is Sony.
I know, but I'm just saying that was a good Marvel character movie.
Right. Yeah. So I know, and I do, and I will still see the Spider-Man movies, and I will still go to the theaters and see the Spider-Man movies. But Kamala Khan, I've never read a comic book with Kamala Khan. I didn't watch the TV show.
Actually, her first series was good. I actually read the first series of Miss Marvel. It was quite good. I actually liked her, and I it made sense the way that they developed the character. She's very different than what she appears in the movies. It's a different.
Okay, I gotta agree with Angry Otter here. Angry Otter says, "Werewolf by Night." The Werewolf by Night was pretty good.
That was
I
did
liked
like
Werewolf
that
by Night.
since Endgame. That's
I didn't
probably
see
my
it.
favorite since Endgame. Is that?
You need to see that, Ricky. It's pretty good.
So here is this isn't me like shitting on Marvel. This is me just talking about how much content that exists. If everything ended today, if nothing else ever came out ever again, I would die before I watched even just what's on my watch list. There's just so much content. If you like anything other than these movies, it takes up so much of your time. I like anime. I like one anime that has over 1,000 episodes. That's just one anime that I've consistently
One
watched.
Piece.
I do. I've watched One Piece. It's what made me go to Japan. I wanted to go to Tokyo Tower because I had a theme park. I love One Piece. I love Dragon Ball. I'm watching Attack
I'm
on
a big
Titan.
anime fan too. So.
Yeah, so you know the pain then of like, hey, there's a new anime out. You should watch it. Oh, great. Let me find 15 hours.
I'm really enjoying the 100 Soulmate one. 100 Girlfriends That Really, Really Love You. That's a really great anime, by the way.
I think
I
Ricky
would agree with Colossus
also.
Collector too. The new Loki series was also very good. So both series 1 and series 2 for Loki were great.
I didn't enjoy season 1, but I'm actually enjoying season 2.
I think what Ricky's saying also is another thing. There's so much content. Is it special anymore? It used to be that when a Marvel movie came out, you had like 1, maybe 2 a year, and it was something special. Now you've got TV shows. You've saturated the market. And
get ready though, because we got coming up. We've had the strikes and everything. There's only one Marvel movie coming out next year, Deadpool 3. That's it.
So
I hope they take a break. I hope they
believe
take
it
a
or
break.
not, I actually don't think there's that much content. And this maybe
might
be a controversial take.
You're a lunatic. That's insane.
Let me explain. Can I have to explain, or are you guys going to be like, "Oh, Alan's like, oh, he's so crazy." But the reason I say that there's not that much content is if we go to the comic shop, there's like hundreds of titles or dozens of titles, right? I would love to see so many different titles. Like I'd love to see a Vampirella show, for example. I'd love to see Green Lantern show if it ever happens. I'd love to see XYZ show happen. Those shows haven't happened. We're getting snippets of different characters, and I think that's great. I actually would love to see more of it. You know what I mean? I'd love to see
Speaking of snippets of different characters, the Echo trailer looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see that. I'd be curious to see what it's going to be like. I didn't necessarily like Hawkeye that much. It was a bit of that bait and switch happening, but
what did you say, lunatic?
I can't read those, so I can't read it. It's
what
too
does it
small
say?
for me
Something.
to read.
Oh, there's an arrow pointing to Alan, and it says lunatic.
What did I do? What did you? You're like attacking me with little pieces of paper.
I'm just making sure everybody in the chat realizes and watching realizes who's Ricky's talking about when he says he's a lunatic.
Oh, okay. That's the lunatic. I got it. No, the thing did you notice in the trailer for Echo the typeface when it said "No good deed goes unpunished" and it was the Punisher font?
Oh, that's cool. That's very.
I was
cool.
like, oh, is that a little?
So what I'm saying is, when I say there's not we got a lot of bad content that came out, but I think there's potential to really create stories that are, it's just like saying, oh, there's too much anime. Nobody complains when for a human animes come out,
but for a human life to consume it. So like the example I always use is that soap opera.
But you would choose which ones you like.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like I am. So like I like reading books. So I read about a book and a half a week. That takes up a portion of my time. I play video games. That takes up a portion of my time. Comic book reading takes up a portion of my time. And so then like I like keeping up with new horror movies. That takes up my time. And so then when Marvel's like, here's it
takes up your time.
And then so
my point is, like, if they treated the Marvel content as the way anime treats it, where they basically, they don't try to cater to everybody with one movie. So the problem is there's this blockbuster attitude that, it has to make $20 trillion at the box office or it's not a success. A success could be a smaller production that caters to a specific audience.
So that's
That
kind of
success is making
what
money.
people were saying about the Ms. Marvel show, was that people were like, I don't like it. It's not broad,
Fine, it's not for you.
and it's like they're like, it's not made for you. It's made for
Exactly.
tween girls to get them into the MCU.
Yeah, but when
Actually, I
you're
like the Miss Marvel series, so
but
I'm
when
not.
you're an enormous company like Disney, it's very much true. You know, everybody knows that joke about Bill Gates. If Bill Gates is walking down the street and he sees $1,000 sitting on the ground,
They're not gonna pick it up.
Because it wastes time. So to say like, let's make a niche animated Blade TV show that'll be awesome. It's going to cost us $4 million and we'll make 10 in returns. That is a waste of their time.
So the point is, they just don't know how to make things.
Also true. Also true.
So the point is, what I mean by that is, it used to be the case you could make a movie, a good movie, a really great movie, for $20 million. Okay. Now that number is $200-300 million for the same thing. So the problem is there's just too much production where and it's back to the fact that they work on this committee kind of method of, determining things. If they streamlined that, said, okay, we're going to trust the guy's vision. Maybe we hired somebody that actually has a clue what they're doing, and we got to trust him. We're not going to do reshoots. We're not going to do like 20 edits, 20 different endings and all this stuff. The cost would go down, and they could probably like cut the cost maybe in half and do more niched audience kind of style movies. Another thing is if they did cater, like the funny thing is, when they try to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And often what happens is, if you appeal to a group, like, and you really try to make something just for that group, like,
Alan died.
I lost Alan.
Alan has gone.
Oh, there he is.
I'm back. Okay, so if you make something that appeals to a group, okay, and you actually make something that's just really cool for that group, they will become your advocates and they will promote it beyond that group. But if you make something that doesn't have that coolness factor, where it just doesn't appeal to anyone at all, then it never gets beyond. It never gets bigger than that. Like, I mean, think of One Piece. You're a big fan of One Piece. It appeals to a huge audience. But if you said, how many people like pirate movies? Probably not many people would say pirates. I'm not really into pirates. But One Piece has a massive audience, and it's about pirates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pirates. I mean, yeah, pirates has their thing though. I mean, they got the Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. That, I mean, there's a lot of people who are pirate fans. But
I made a great point, and then I get cut off. That's my life. I'm so sad. So what I was saying was, One Piece appeals to a small group, but it actually appeals to a big audience as a result.
So, but here's the big philosophical question for everybody in the chat too.
Okay.
So, like,
we've got a great chat going on tonight. By the way,
I know. I'm reading it. Like, I love these guys. So, like, but this is a question.
Wait,
for
what's
the chat.
the difference between geek and nerd, by the way?
a geek eats the heads off chickens. We're nerds.
Yeah, I know. I have to eat.
My blast says, "What did Johnny Depp do to you, Alan?"
Is it easier for us to manage our expectations and pick the art that is more catered to what we're actually looking for, or is it a better use of our time to kind of like wish that the giant megacorp Disney would acquiesce to the smaller audience? I think it's a lot easier, and it will save our lives and our sanity if you just recognize that the company that sells popcorn buckets of superhero heads isn't necessarily interested in capturing and pleasing an audience of maybe 200,000. They only want that big $1 billion weekend, and they're never going to stop chasing it because the machine of Disney is too big for what we're talking about. Thank you, Buried Under Comics. I think it's a lot easier to just like understand that maybe the girl that we took to to dinner isn't necessarily the girl we want to be with anymore, and maybe it's time to move on to a different relationship. You can still love Marvel comics and the characters, but these movies suck now. So rather than hope that they get better, I think just watch.
Okay, looking back at Star Wars, okay, Star Wars was designed to appeal to boys, in theory. It was supposed to be, the typical trope of, boy saves princess.
It was the hero's journey.
Hero's journey. The boy rescues the princess. He has to fight against the big baddie. The typical boys love that stuff. However, in appealing to that group, like they made a boatload of money on Star Wars because they really appealed to that group. However, women also like Star Wars because it has those universal things that the hero's journey. Girls like to be the princess. They like to think of themselves as Princess Leia. There's things that appeal to everybody. When you sort of
I know plenty of girls who wanted to be Luke Skywalker. They wanted to be the female Jedi.
Sure, but the funny thing is, like, when they try to like make it so that the women are all the heroes and the women are just as strong as the guys, nobody can relate to that. People can relate to the way the original Star Wars was done, where it wasn't trying to be, the Force is female. It was just trying to tell a cool story meant for boys, but appeal to everybody.
So, Alan, did you watch all 3 of the new Star Wars movies in theaters?
Yes.
You saw the second one, and you saw how bad it was, and you still went and saw the third one. What I'm saying, the only point I'm trying to make, is these companies know they have your money. Yep. You're in the bank. They're not. So if they have your cash,
hey, Blake,
they're going, and they know that you're going to show up no matter what. They're going to pivot to the people who they believe aren't showing up. So if their audience isn't showing up, if their biggest market share that they don't have is 8-year-old girls, they know Alan's going to show up and he'll be the one grown man in the theater, but they're going to try to make the movie towards a sea of 8-year-old girls because that's the market.
But it doesn't appeal to, the thing is, what they think appeals to 8-year-old girls doesn't appeal to 8-year-old.
No, and I know, and there we agree. But I'm just saying the mechanics of what I'm trying to say is that they know they've got you on the hook, so they're trying to go for the fish that they don't have on the hook. So they're not looking to please you anymore, and so your feelings of disassociation of like Star Wars is different. You're absolutely right. It is different because they don't want it for you anymore, but you're still showing up to the party.
What's the title of that video? You did a video of that, Ricky. What was the title of that video?
Comics are woke and it's kind of our fault.
Yes. I remember I watched that video. Actually, it was quite good.
That was a great video.
So here's my quick review of the 3 movies that just recently came out. First of the 3 not prequels, postquels. I'm not sure what they're called. the last 3 Star Wars movies. The first one was a ripoff, almost frame for frame, of Star Wars: A New Hope. Okay.
Yep.
Second one was woke garbage. That's pretty much a good summary of it because it was like girl boss doesn't like dumb white men or dumb men. Just it was trash. It was just trash. And they spit upon the legacies of Luke. They spit upon the legacy
of hot takes tonight.
They spit on the whole legacy of Star Wars itself.
All this talking of spitting on's making it hard to stand.
And then the third movie, actually, I didn't mind. Actually, I didn't mind that movie. It was better than the other 2. Was trying to fix all the mistakes that the previous 2 movies had made. It was like, oh yes, it really was Palpatine. Oh yes, she was, all these, they really tried to fix all the mistakes and bring back the story to what it should have been. And, it just didn't work because it was just too much to fix. It was just too big of a hurdle to fix the mistakes of the second movie.
Yes, Pablos, that is Ricky. Read more, damn it. That is Ricky.
that is me. Yes, and that is my man.
And he has an awesome channel. You guys need to check him out. He's undersubbed. Same with Mr. Akins. They're both undersubbed and need more subscribers. They are both great channels, so please sub them up. And then Alan and I both have enough subscribers, but
No,
if you
we
want
don't.
to
I want
subscribe
more.
to us,
I want more.
yes, I know.
More power. Okay, so yeah, but I don't know if you agree with my interpretations of the movies.
I don't know.
I understand your interpretation. Go ahead.
I feel like the companies are going in the direction they're going to go in, and I'm left lamenting, oh, the way it used to be. And I'm noticing that, wow, my dad used to say stuff like that, and then my grandpa said stuff like that. So it's like my turn at the well to just kind of eat the shit. And so like I don't know, I'm more willing to pivot into other stuff that I like and away from the giant megacorp feeding me stuff I don't want. Like I love
That's
DC, but I'll buy the old DC. I won't buy the new stuff necessarily.
Did you read Otter's comment?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I mean, it was trying to appeal to some of the old nostalgia. But yeah,
there's some fan service in there for sure.
Yeah.
See, that's the reason I think those people that are apathetic, it's like a relationship. You're going to keep going back and being abused by the same person.
Yes.
That's the reason I'm not going to the movies. Like I haven't gone to the last movie I went to was Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. That was like, and I was like, after that one, I haven't been.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I didn't like that movie either.
And I haven't been, really, I didn't think it was as bad as I thought it was going to be. But still,
I'm sure your content is great.
I'm done. And so it's like one of those things. It's how are you going to handle this relationship? And for me, it's like, I'm done. And to me, if you're in a relationship and you just don't care anymore, that's worse than if you're getting mad at these movies, that means you still care. You're still emotionally invested in these things. And you're going to, like Ricky says, you're going to keep going back. You're going to keep going back because I'm like, I'm done with this relationship. I'll go find somebody else and I'll go do something else with my time instead of, watching that movie, which is, to me, the worst of the two. The people that are mad, they're still going to be going because they're emotionally invested in it. Me, I'm not. I'm like,
I don't ever want to go to a movie because I'm mad at the movie though. I really, I really don't want to hate watch things. I really don't want to be in that boat. I do try to go into movies with the love of the movie or the characters at least.
Now I'm a football fan, so I do hate watch stuff. So I will.
You told me you lost your voice last weekend. You're like, I've already lost my voice, and it was like,
I was screaming. It wasn't even.
It was like 8:30 in the morning. I had a text or a message from Mr. Akins. I've already lost my voice.
I did. I was going to film something that afternoon, and the first game, I couldn't tell. I was like, oh, because I was screaming screaming obscenities, and nobody else was in the room. We had somebody.
Collector asked the question for you there, Mr. Akins.
If you hear a Marvel movie is really good, would that make you go?
I don't know now. I don't even know now because, like I said, that's what people say about me.
That's real apathetic.
That's what people say about me, though. But like once I'm done, and you're going to have to move way beyond. You're going to have to like really reel me in to get me back in. So I don't know if, like the Deadpool movie, it's supposed to be like the thing. And it's going to be, and I'm like, nah. Or even worse, when they said they're going to, the rumors are, we're going to move away from Kang and we're going to use Dr. Doom instead. I'm sitting there going, please no, because I like that character. Please no.
I'm going to give you some positive news. Marvel's showed that they have gotten the memo from the fans, finally. I think there was a different movie that they were going to show us that was extremely bad, that was going to be ultra woke, and that was not what I saw. I didn't see a super, super woke movie. And that's a good sign that, there was no salvaging it. Like there was no way you could fix it. So they had to show it. It is what it is.
Unlike what they did with Daredevil and just nixed it and go, we're not even putting that out.
Yeah, they killed that.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing that they do that, because that means that they're understanding that they're making crap and they shouldn't show that.
They recast each one of Matt Murdock's eyes as a lesbian woman.
Yeah.
Like each one of his individual blind eyes is a Mexican immigrant.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's where they're going with a lot of stuff. But I think they realized that was not the way to go. And I'm hoping that they will learn their lesson and go back to just telling good stories again, not pushing any agenda, just focusing on good stories.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, and I don't want anything to suck, but like here's the other issue. This is the other issue, and because we're talking a lot about tone and a lot about these, really is what we're saying about these movies having the same type of tone. Well, it's because they're making one cohesive universe, right? And whereas in the comics, when you visit Star City does not look like Coast City and does not feel like Central City, which does not feel like Metropolis, which does not feel like Gotham. But when they make these movies in DC, because they're different universes, you get the different tones. You know, the Patton Gotham, Robert Pattinson Gotham looks very different than the Metropolis from Superman Returns. They're very different universes. Marvel is trying to make them all have the same sepia tone. So I don't know, like it has the same flavor. So like where would Blade fit in to the Iron Man New York that we've seen, where Doctor Strange is right there? Where would that fit in?
The older movies had different tones. You had Guardians of the Galaxy, which was like a Marvel take on Star Wars. You had the first Captain America movie, which was a period piece. You had the first Thor movie, which was, you know, it was Shakespeare. Basically, you had different tones for those movies. Winter Soldier was a 70s spy thriller. Those kind of tones, they had different tones. And you're right, everything is monotone now. It's like the exact same thing on each one of them. And I think if they do something like that with a Blade, you're going to have to take it into a horror type genre and go, hey, this is a horror character. Let's have a horror theme on this. And you can still do it because those other ones fit in. You can make it fit in. It's just going to take a special person, a special director to be able to do it. For years, I said, there's no way you can have a Lord of the Rings movie and they actually make a good Lord of the Rings movie. But then Peter Jackson sold his soul to the devil and he made a good movie. We're going to have to get some of these directors down to the crossroads and get them to sell their souls to Satan so that we can get some good movies again.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the other things that I find with the problem with modern movies is I find it's event, like where like there's no connection or reason for the events to happen. It's just like explosion happened. Oh, wait, we're going to go to the next explosion. And
that's then, because analytics told them they needed an explosion at that moment, and then a song, and then a joke.
Yeah,
and there's no song joke.
There's no direction. So, like the characters feel like directionless, and it's just events that are carrying them through the story rather than them guiding the story. Do you know what I mean? Like it seems.
There you go, Colossus says Marvel went down to Georgia, looking for a soul to sell. So I wanted Podblast asked if we liked the New Mutants movie. I wanted to touch on that real quick. Podblast, I did like the New Mutants movie. I like the New Mutants movie. I was sad that it kind of got washed aside with a lot of, you know, Marvel's acquiring of the X universe and everything, because we had a lot of hints at Mr. Sinister and a lot of that stuff in there. And I liked the character, the gal who played Magic. I thought she was great.
She was awesome. She's awesome. Yeah. She also played Queen's Gambit and a bunch of things. So
raise your hand if you didn't see New Mutants.
Right side of history strikes again.
See, this is the problem with teachers and the educational system in our country. Okay.
No, this is it. Yeah, they don't watch New Mutants.
I'm just joking.
No, the New Mutants was actually pretty good. I think it was well done.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it was really interesting. I liked. She was very venomous, and Magic. You know, she was just so mean to other people. And I thought it was
kind of sarcastic. Yeah, very, very much so. But I think the problem that the New Mutants movie had was they tried to play it off like we don't know what's going on, when the people who are comics fans already knew what was going on.
and they're the only ones watching it.
Ricky, is there a Marvel movie you do like that you're like?
I know. So here's the deal. I enjoyed all of Phase 1, with the exception of Captain America. I didn't think that was very good.
The first Captain America?
I didn't like it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I literally left the movie going like, that looked like the flippin' Rocketeer. And then I looked it up and I was like, Jesus Christ, the guy directed the Rocketeer.
Yes.
Like it really did. It felt like the Rocketeer. I liked Phase 1.
I like the Rocketeer.
I like the Rocketeer too, by the way.
I like the X-Men. You know what? Nostalgic Pod Blast. First off, I already subscribed to you. But I just did. But no, seriously, pound for pound, I will put the X-Men movies in their entirety up against the Marvel movies and say I enjoy those much more. Take all the X-Men, take the original X-Men run, X1 through 3, take the Logan movies. Some of them are bad, some of them are good. And then take the First Class. I enjoy those movies pound for pound more than I enjoyed Phase 1.
Okay. Which DC movie did you hate the most and which one did you enjoy the most?
I feel shitty saying like Dark Knight's the best, but like Dark Knight, man. Dark Knight's amazing. The worst one
Was the one with
I
Schwarzenegger?
no. So you know what? I think if you look at those new Batman movies, like Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, those are like a love letter to Silver Age DC Comics. If you look at them with that lens and you like the comics, I think those movies
they're a bit
have a lot to
hokey
offer.
and Silver
They
Age,
are, yeah. Holy rusted metal, Batman. It's holy and full of, I love that. I thought it was great. The worst, like I really couldn't stand it. Man of Steel.
Really?
Man of Steel got super. Here's the thing, and this is
got Superman wrong.
If nobody in here subscribes to my channel, I get it. But if anything I'm about to say resonates with you, this is the heart of what I believe about comic books. Superman doesn't just save your life. Superman saves your soul. He doesn't just pluck you out of a tree and, later, kid, he drops you, he walks you home. He makes sure your dad's not drunk that night so you can get a full night's sleep. Superman saves you. And so that Superman, there is no room for goddamn Jonathan Kent, his dad, to make him say, should I have just let those people die? Maybe. Go to hell. I couldn't have walked out of that theater any faster. Jonathan Kent.
I thought they did Superman dirty, actually, but
Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent don't represent characters in comic books. They represent America. And so those two human beings representing America are truth, justice, and the American way, and they raised Clark Kent to be Superman. He didn't arrive on Earth Superman. His great parents made him Superman. And so it felt like, I don't know, like I'm not generally an overly I'm not generally an over patriotic person, but like when I saw that, I was like waving a flag in the theater being like, fuck you, you got it wrong. This is America, Jack. We made Superman. You can't have these two Midwestern folk be terrible and want to see a bus full of kids died for anonymity. No, it was wrong. Hate that movie. Sorry for the rant. Hate that movie.
Okay, Ricky, which one do you like better, The Dark Knight or Superman? The Christopher Reeves.
The original Superman movie is the single greatest Superman movie. And if aliens came to Earth tomorrow and asked us to give them 10 movies that represent humanity, the Richard Donner Superman film is on that list. It's a perfect film. Superman, in case you didn't know, Superman doesn't throw a punch in that movie. Not one punch. He never punches anybody in that movie. He'll pick people up by the scruff of their neck. He'll catch cars. He'll catch planes. He's Superman. He saves. He doesn't hurt. That first movie got the character right. It got comic books right. It got America right. America, Jack.
I don't know
one
why.
thing that the first movie got really well was the dilemma of Superman. Like, everyone always thinks that Superman's weakness is kryptonite, but that's actually not his weakness. His weakness is that decision of who to save and having to try to save everybody. His weakness is his love for humanity, and that he has to he doesn't want collateral damage. He wants to take out the bad guy, but not lose any lives in the process. And that's how the bad guy can take advantage of him, because they can say, well, we're going to send 2 missiles. Ha ha.
Superman is the only fictitious example I can think of, and I'm pretty well read, of absolute power not corrupting. That's the purpose of Superman. He's a Christ allegory, except he can fly, which I don't see Christ flying.
Well, he walked on water. It's close enough.
I can fly through the air, or I can walk on water. I'll take the flight. Thank you.
Okay.
TJ wants to know what you guys think about Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider.
Actually, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the first one. The second one was a little bit.
I thought Nicolas Cage was a good Ghost Rider. It was done pretty well.
I like his horror movies that have come out recently.
Who would you rather see? Who would you rather see play Ghost Rider, Nicolas Cage or Keanu Reeves? Who do you think
Keanu Reeves?
Keanu Reeves.
But Keanu could play the other one. There's Johnny Blaze, and then there's who's the second one from the 80s? What's his name?
I want to say it's Kyle. Oh my goodness!
I thought it was like something.
Chat's gonna get it before we do.
Yeah, but Ricky's gonna look it up on.
I'm googling it.
Yeah, he's googling it, just like my kids at school. I'm gonna Google it.
So.
Yeah, but he could play the other Ghost Rider.
Yeah. I don't know who I sort of think of as Ghost Rider.
Robbie Reyes? No, Robbie Reyes is the new one, right?
I was thinking Robbie Reyes.
There's a new one with a metal skull. That's Robbie Reyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the more recent one.
I don't know. I'm trying to Google goddamn Ghost Rider.
90s Ghost Rider. It's Johnny Blaze.
Donnie Ketch, Alejandro Jones, Robbie Reyes, Michael Balladino, and Kushala.
Danny Ketch is who he's.
Danny Ketch.
Yeah, there's a female Ghost Rider too from the Fear Itself storyline.
Yeah, is that Kushala?
Yeah, but
because Johnny, Danny, Alejandra. Yeah, that's the female of Alejandro.
Yeah, the 3-hour, 8-minute long version of Superman the movie is.
Yeah, Fear Itself, Alejandra Jones.
Yeah, I think she died right away though.
There's only one flaw I have with the Superman movie, and that's the traveling back in time thing. And the only reason they put that in there is because it was supposed to be one movie with the other Kryptonian, Zod, and them, and they made it. They said, "Oh no, this movie's way too long." They made them cut all that. Said, "Hey, we're not doing that. We got to figure out." And that time travel thing is supposed to have taken place at the end of the second movie because Zod and them came in and did all these horrible things.
Destroyed the planet.
He almost destroyed, humanity, and he had to travel back in time and then he stopped them from actually getting out of the Phantom Zone instead of taking the plane.
So going into Alan's wheelhouse, Podless says he likes the Western Ghost Rider. Didn't you do a thing about, was it Calico Kid that was the original?
Calico Kid was the original Ghost Rider.
So he appeared first in the Golden Age, right?
Yeah, he was a pretty cool character. He basically had all the spirits of the different outlaws of the not people of the West, Buffalo Bill, Calamity Kate, all the kind of cool people of the West.
Wild
Bill, had all
Hickok.
Their talents. Yeah,
Calamity
had all their skills. It was pretty cool.
So Ricky, did you like the Smallville TV show? No, I enjoyed it.
What was the big thing that you hated about it, Ricky? What was it?
I always thought it felt kind of like a Xena Warrior Superman, just kind of low budget. And
I like Xena Warrior.
God damn it!
My buddy used to call it Xena Warrior porn star.
You could be like, I have this bucket of hog shit I'm gonna throw out, and Alan's like, I love buckets of hog shit.
I like Xena. I actually like Hercules too.
Oh God.
Okay, Alan. Tell me something. A character you hate. Tell me a character you hate. I hate this character.
One that I hate.
Yeah, I know it's difficult, but we can make it happen.
And if it's some obscure Golden Age character, I swear to Christ, I will find you.
Okay, I gotta pick something that will just irritate Ricky.
He's gonna be like, it's Wendy the Witch, actually.
Hot stuff. You hate hot stuff?
I actually like hot stuff.
I do. It's my favorite.
I just picked up hot stuff #1, actually. So I'm one of those people that I can see, like, even though it's a character that I don't like, I can like them.
You can't. That's not the game.
Sort of weird that way.
Well, there's got to be some woke character you don't like.
Yeah. What about Safe Space and what was the other one? Safe Space and Snowflake.
Yes.
Yeah, there's those.
You know, the funny thing is,
right?
I actually think those
right?
they're so weird and dumb that I actually like them for that, like that quirkiness. So I'm
gonna meet you at a con one day, and I'm just gonna fight you. You won't even know it's me.
I don't think there's really any teams racing. Come on now.
I'm weird that way. I like
the green llama.
The green llama.
I'm just
Green Llama's a Golden Age character, though.
You know, like if you ask me later, I have to think. I have so many characters in my mind. I'm just trying to think of ones that I don't.
I'm believe me, I'll remember, and I'll continue to bring.
It will.
Up. I want to chat with you. I'll say, hey, what character do you absolutely?
Like, all right, Alan, the day of reckoning has come.
Yeah, there's a Silver Age character called the Prolapsed Anus, and Alan owns all of his comics. His trade paperback is called Windsock.
But I own everything he's ever
been in. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of it. I don't know. Like,
come on, man.
I actually, maybe this is the way I think of things. It's a little different.
No, not that.
I don't necessarily hate the character. I hate the writer that made the character wrong.
Okay, we're getting somewhere.
Yes.
So I don't like, for example, I don't like the gay characters that they have nowadays. I really like. It's just I feel like it's just not necessary.
Well, like John Kent.
Yeah, I just so that would be, I guess. It's like I'm fine with them creating those kind of characters and having them for that audience, sure, but not for me.
So for a really great breakdown of that, watch Ricky's video of Comics Are Woke and It's Kind of Our Fault.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown of it, actually. But I didn't buy those books, so actually, I don't hate them, but I just don't.
Okay,
like them.
Well, let's go with writers or artists. I mean, do you hate Jason Aaron? Do you hate, who? I'm just throwing.
There we go.
Really so
you got some pretty strong opinions about Jason Aaron yourself, there, Mr. Akins.
Are there any writers that you avoid?
So the funny thing is, I never really got, like, I was never one of those comic geeks that really got into, who's the writer of this? There's only a few writers that actually focused on knowing their names. Most of the writers actually I don't know. Like, people say, it's written by blah, blah. I'm like, I don't really know that writer. And I feel bad for it because I don't really focus. I'm focused more on the artists and saying, I like this art versus this art. But there are certain the writers that I like. Brian K. Vaughan, I like. Tinian, I like. But there's
artists. Then is there an artist that you like? I just don't like that person's style. That's it. I may own everything that he's ever done, but I still don't like him.
So okay, this is a bit of a controversial one for me, actually.
Here we go. Sweet Jesus.
So I'm not super.
What controversy from Alan?
I'm not super keen on Dan Parent.
Really?
And I think his stuff is good, but not great. So Dan Parent, he does Archie, and he does some good stuff, but I find it just a little too simplistic. I kind of wish it was a little bit more developed. That's my only criticism. Actually, I collect his stuff, so it sounds weird that I collect it, and yet I'm not as appreciative of it as Dan DeCarlo or Bob Montana. Certain other artists I think are better.
I'll say it. I don't get Scotty Young. I don't get it.
I like Scotty Young, so I actually enjoy his art.
I don't get it.
It's funny. I didn't like Scotty Young at first, but then when somebody described it as Calvin and Hobbish,
Peach
It's like,
Momoko is another one I sometimes hate.
I'm kind of getting to where I kind of like Scotty Young for what Scotty Young does. I'm like,
They're just
at first
shouting
I'm like,
stuff out.
but I do, but I can
Colossus
understand
Collector says
you
Barry
not
Windsor
liking
Smith.
Scotty.
Pod Blast says Steve Ditko in the 80s was bad. Colossus Collector says Peach Momoko. Pod Blast says Speedball. I told Colossus Collector that Mr. Akins and I are going to hunt him down because he doesn't like Barry Windsor Smith. Buried Under Comics says he agrees. He has a hard time loving Archie comics.
I like Archie comics, but there's just certain I just wish it was a little bit more.
Oh, I love Paul
developed.
Smith's X-Men.
Paul Smith. I'm looking up these names one by one.
Scotty
I
Young.
like Scotty Young. I find it's kind of cute and kind of fun. I kind of like
Scotty Young. If you look at his artwork before he adopted the Calvin and Hobbes style, he did a bunch of covers for Deadpool, and he had his own style, which is more animated with a touch of realism and like Bill Sienkiewicz world in. It was really cool.
Well, you were the one that showed me those, right? Bigby?
I showed you those a while ago. That's right. Yeah.
It's, I don't see it as Calvin and Hobbes. Every time I look at it, I think they look like Funko Pops, and I'm like, I don't like it. They look like Funko Pops.
They do. You're right. That's actually good.
So cute.
Yeah. No, that's.
So Colossus, I kind of agree with you. He does sometimes have some facial weirdness things, but like he has some amazing covers. If you look at his Life Death covers, that Iron Man cover where he's got Iron Man hanging by all the wires and stuff, just amazing.
I'm preparing myself for cancellation.
Okay, let's do it.
I think all of John Romita Jr.'s characters look the same.
Oh yeah.
I think he's really, really bad. I don't think he even came in the same universe as his father. I don't think they're playing the same game.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the sort of the commentary about him, anyways. That
oh, good. See, I don't talk to people about Marvel, but like I saw a picture of like it was J. Jonah Jameson, Peter Parker, and the Punisher all in the same shot, and I was like, that's the same motherfucker. That's the same man. That is the same human man.
But
just speeding.
I see that a lot with artists though, where they draw the same face, and if it's a female character, they just add boobs to it. It's like it's almost the same face for everybody, and it's just bad drawing, I think.
Okay, how about this one then? Tell me I'm crazy. I think Alex Ross's painting style is so bright that when you look at an ensemble cast of characters, they all become just a blob. If you look up anyone who has a computer right now, if you look up a picture of like his recent thing, he did all the Avengers together. If you look at them all side by side, they're all painted with such reverence for each individual character that he's not controlling the light. Like this this character's standing out and they're all in the shadow where it's nothing. It's every character is brightness 10. And so they're all popping out at you. And so it all kind of blends together.
But you're describing not just a problem with him, you're describing a problem with all modern comics covers. They're very portrait based. They're very like, we got to showcase the character on the cover. We got to, and we have to showcase all the characters if we're going to showcase more than one character.
They're not doing a George Perez crowd shot. If you look at a George Perez crowd shot, you can look at it over and over again and get, wow, look at that. Wow, look at that. Wow, look at, there's a lot going on and not every character. He's almost telling a story with his page. You can see interactions with characters, specific characters standing by each other, character, putting their hand on somebody else. Oh, those two people have a relationship. What's the relationship between those two? Why is this character beside this one? That kind of
that's
thing.
My biggest problem with the modern comic cover is that it is, as I said, portrait based rather than story based. If you look at the older comics, the way that they would get you into the comic is they would say, okay, this is going to be a really cool story. You got, like, I'm going to show you guys. This is why I love Pre-Code Horror. Pre-Code Horror, great cover, right?
Yeah.
So we got right off the bat, We got a story that's being told. You know, coffin under the Christmas tree, husband with an axe, wife looking scared. There's something going on here. Where if this was done as a modern comic, all of this would be wiped away, and you just have this girl looking, oh, it'd be just a portrait. So I love that about the older books, that they were much more story-based covers. And the reason for that was people actually read the comics. And this goes back to what I was saying before. People don't read their comics anymore. And so what the motivation to get people to buy comics is different. So back in the day, the motivation was there's going to be a great story inside. You got to read this book because it's got a really cool story inside. And they sort of hint at that story by showing this cool cover. What's going to happen next? We don't know. But on a modern comic, you don't have that. Like a modern comic will just be like, oh, look, it's a pretty cover. It's, rather than you're buying that cover, you're buying that art. You don't really care what's inside. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah.
I'll give you a difference here. Here's a modern comic. Beautiful. I love this cover. Right? Joshua Middleton. Beautiful cover. But does it make you want to open up the book and read it?
Well, you'd have to break that slab.
Well, okay. But the reason it is slab is I don't care what the story is.
Well, there's your problem.
Well, that's my point.
There's your problem.
This is not encouraging me to want to read the story.
No, see that? Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you totally.
See? Okay, that's my rant. Okay.
So I want to loop back to. I want to loop back real quick. I want to loop back really quick to the John Romita Jr. thing. John Romita Jr. used to be a really good artist in the vein of his father, and he sold out to be fast, and he's able to put out like 4 books a month.
Okay, wow.
But he's not that great anymore. But he used to be really good. Podblast was saying he rocked the Hobgoblin storyline. All those early Hobgoblin stories, John Romita Jr. But he sold out to be fast. And when he was doing X-Men for a while, he was pretty decent. And then after a while, I would look at his stuff and I was like, this guy's getting paid to do that? So, yeah, I know what you're saying.
So that's the weird thing about certain artists. Like, back in the day, they used to grind out the artists. Like, they would get them to produce huge amounts of work. And that would actually, after a while, you would see it in the quality of the work, not going down, but actually going up, because they were just honing their craft. Whereas more of the modern style is the opposite, that if you grind them more, then the quality goes down, which is really, kind of, I'm not sure why that is the case, but it seems to be the case. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Kids these days.
Okay.
Kids
these
these days.
Quiet. Like, you never respond to my weird rants.
When we first started this stream, I saw on Ricky that my piece of crap phone freezes your guys' faces and stuff. And so I've gotten some really great things where, like, Mr. Akins where he was talking about the giant robots, he's like, ah, and some of like an eye roll from Ricky, or it's just some of your guys' faces just freezing the greatest things.
Okay, cool. So you're just laughing at us the whole time. Oh,
I'm just like, oh my god, that's so great. I wish I could screen cap some of this stuff, but anyway.
So yeah. So okay.
Ricky, did some of your controversy get filled? Do you feel fulfilled?
I mean, we
controversial for you.
We covered the gamut. We tackled the racial issues. We tackled terrible comic art.
And I made you appreciate Golden Age pre-code horror, right? Now you're going to be like, I love pre-code horror, right?
No, I don't know. I just don't dig it. I don't dig it. I don't know.
I don't
He
know.
dug through his couch and he found one, but not
If
two
you can,
shits.
if you found, you know what, Alan, I respect you so much that if you found a specific issue and you said like read this issue, you'll really enjoy it, I will read it for you and I will give it a fair shot.
Actually, there's a really it's not horror.
Challenge
but
accepted.
You're gonna
Like, you
give me
know,
you're gonna give me a
Weird
goddamn
Tales?
Annie Oakley book and I'm gonna show up at your house. I swear to God, horror, pre-code of horror.
There's one that's not. It's sci-fi, but it's a great story. You'd probably
Well,
like it.
find a really good. Take your time. Find the best pre-code horror you can find, and refer him to that one.
Sounds
So
like
I
a
have to
video.
ask,
Top
I have
10
to ask Mr.
pre-code
Akins. So
horror
you read,
story.
Mr. Akins? You read Jonah Hex? Did you read the Ultimate FF yet?
Yes.
I like.
What did you
you
think?
want hot take on that one?
I want a hot take on your Ultimate
I
FF
hate
trade.
Marvel Zombies too.
You hate Marvel Zombies.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, really? I actually
Yeah.
like Marvel Zombies.
Like the Marvel Zombies books or the general fan base?
The concept of this space disease that can come in and affect these things, affect these superheroes, and then when Galactus comes, they beat him. That's the primary thing. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I think it, and you are completely atomized. Okay, next, I will now consume the planet. You know, that's what should have happened in that. There's no fighting him. He's just going to atomize you as you're a mote in the eye of God. You're nothing. I'll see you later, and I'm going to consume your planet and go on to the next. That should have been the end of the Marvel Zombies.
Fair enough.
Once Galactus got there, it should have been over with. And the concept of it that there's some kind of disease and it's affecting this. It was kind of neat. Again, it's one of those where it should have been a one shot, but people love zombies so much, and it was in the zombie craze. Again,
yeah, it was right at that time, right?
22 times and running
So
into
you read that and the Marvel Zombies book. So did you like the Ultimate FF where it was kind of a small
it was
sampling?
contained.
I like that one more, but I'm not a big fan of the Ultimate FF. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm the one that's going to get canceled here because I'm the one that's the hater. Apparently I hate everything.
No, you like Jonah Hex.
Yeah, I did like Jonah Hex. And what was the other one that I had over there that I read that you gave me that I liked? I liked Jonah Hex. I didn't like, Ultimate FF was good. I just don't like the depiction of the characters. But again, I am nostalgic. And I know Ricky loves that word. Nostalgic for the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee Fantastic Four, the John Byrne Fantastic Four. That's my
like in Ultimates, they're less dysfunctional than
that's the reason I didn't like them. I wanted
what I liked about that storyline was not the Ultimate FF, but the depiction of what happened to the Marvel Universe with the zombie plague and the role reversal of Magneto becoming a good guy and protecting the last vestiges of humanity. And everything else. I thought
Magneto was always a good guy.
Yes. Well, we've talked about that. Well, and I've also said that no bad guy really thinks he's a bad guy.
Yes, he's the hero of his own story every single time.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Darkseid knows he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
does he? Does he really?
Because he's a despair god, and I don't think you can spin despair well.
Have you read that new thing? Where Darkseid basically caused the zombie apocalypse in DC? Was that Deceased or whatever?
I love Deceased. Deceased was good because it didn't, because like the zombie apocalypse was happening, but there were heroes that were trying to fight it. And so like it wasn't just like, oh, we're all zombies now and it gets to now we get to have zombie porn. It was like Superman was like, I have to stay away because if I get bit, it's over. You know that, right?
The Rifleman's not Golden Age, but just
he's talking about the cover with the Got Wood cover.
Yeah, that's actually not Golden Age. It's silver.
That's like 63, right?
Yeah, but it's a cool cover. I'm going to find a story for you, Ricky. that
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I'll give him a shot. I love reading, and I'm
just surprised. The reason I was surprised because you like Vampirella, and if you read the Vampirella magazines, or if you read, did you read the Warren stuff like Creepy Eerie?
Yeah, no. It's so pretty much my experience with Warren is my Vampirella run. I love.
But is that Harris Vampirella or is that
no,
Dynamite?
it's the Warren run, the original, like the magazine.
Okay, so then in the original Warren, she's kind of like the first few issues. It's she's like in the first few issues of Vampirella, she's kind of like the like Elvira.
She's the host. She's a sexy crypt keeper.
Host. Crypt keeper basically. And so those ones, it's kind of like, she's introducing short stories. Later issues, it is more just all about her.
Tentacles. They knew what they were doing.
I read all the Vampirellas. I enjoyed them. I just like the campiness of it. It was very campy, if that makes sense.
So I kind of fell into Vampirella. I have a 5 scroll rule. I have a 5 scroll rule. So if you look up a fancy comic, like a big first issue, a big sexy key, right? And you organize your eBay from highest to lowest. Once we all know that point at the very bottom of the scroll where it's like, okay, from here it's all facsimiles, right? I have a 5 swipe rule where once I'm there, I'm going to give it 5 more swipes. And more times than you would imagine, I have found low-grade copies of really, really high-end books, but even below facsimiles that are graded. And so I found a guy that was he was in Hawaii, and he had he was selling Vampirella 1 through 5, the final issue, the annual, and the 100th gallery special for $300.
So the final, like 112.
Yeah. So he had this whole set, and he sold it for it was for $300, and I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna win this auction. There's no way." I bid on it. I watched it for 5 days. Nobody else looked, and I got it. So I was like, "Oh shit! I should probably read these things." And I started reading them, and I enjoyed them. They were really fun. I really liked the Vampirella stories. I liked how she's pretty much a Kryptonian, but a vampire. It was really fun. I had a lot of fun with her, and I loved Jose Gonzalez. I fell in love with Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Oh,
He's amazing.
Great.
He honestly, like, pound for pound, he might actually be my favorite comic book artist in all of time. Like, just what he can do with
original artwork from him.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. I've been waiting for something to go up for sale so I can just jump on it. But
I made connections with William DeBay as well. He also worked on Vampirella and Creepy Eerie and stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, Jose. When we went to Chicago, we went to the Latin American Museum of Art because they had a little tiny dedication to him, and I was like, I got to see it. Got to see it in person. But yeah, I love him.
They used a lot of Spanish artists because they were cheaper. That was the reasoning behind it.
God damn it!
But they were great artists, so that was the reason.
We ask you what you hate, and you give us nothing. I tell you about something I love, and you tell me they're slaves.
Well,
come on, man.
They were paid slaves. Okay, how about that?
Mr. Akins, was it the other sci-fi book I gave you? Did you like that one?
Oh, the Decorum. I enjoyed that one.
Okay.
Yes. I love the thing about that one. I love the unique art style in that. I love the art.
Yeah, it was very unique. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. So I love unique art styles. I love being able to see a piece of art and go, ooh, that's so-and-so. And that person had a unique art style, and I really liked it.
Okay. It was either that or it was the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders one. So
I haven't read that one yet.
Okay, so I
actually want to get a copy of that. That's a book that I think's cool.
So okay, I do have to go to sleep. I'm on the East Coast. It's 2:18 a.m. here, but here's the deal.
You guys are all on the East Coast.
I want to hear. I'll go last because I initiated this, but I want to hear from everybody. What is the one story that you hate? It can be an arc. a writer's run on a character, but like, what is one story that makes you gnash your teeth? You really didn't enjoy it. Alan, you know you're going first.
High Republic, I just read recently, was terrible.
Really? Okay.
Like I only like not. Was it High Republic or was it the one where? Sorry, it was the one where it's like the childhood of Obi-Wan. What's that one? It might be just Obi-Wan. It was like
the Obi-Wan comic.
Yeah, yeah, the Obi-Wan comic. I was like, man, they're just like neutering every man that they can find. It was just terrible. It was like, man, why did you do this? So yeah, that one. I don't like when characters don't behave like normal humans would.
I can tell you the first time I read something in a comic book and I said, I don't like this as a kid. And it was the Millennium crossover in DC written by Steve Englehart. I remember that.
I've got that sitting in a box in my room and I've been putting it off because I only hear bad things.
Yeah.
What is the Millennium? Like
it was Crisis Before Crisis. Like before their big crisis story, they tried to reboot in a small way with Millennium.
No, it was after the crisis.
Oh, it was after?
Mm-hmm. And so it was after, and it was just they were you had established things after crisis, and then they're undoing things. And I'm like, listen, we went through this whole thing, we had a good thing going, and then you come in and you just screw things up. I had a friend.
Tina, you're back.
I had a friend that he said he would never read another comic book by Steve Englehart. He said, Steve Englehart could mess up a wet dream, is what he kept saying. Wow. That was his phrase to describe Steve Englehart. So, and I remember that was the first time reading something.
Oh, wow.
I don't like it.
So I
check this out from
read
Podblast.
Infinite Crisis recently. I thought it was good. I thought it was actually quite interesting.
Did you read that?
But I hate the introduction of Madcap.
I hate the introduction of Madcap and Captain America 307. I remember that since I created the character in 1984 when I was a kid. Mark Grunwald stole my art and synopsis I mailed in. Wow.
That's awful.
Wow. That's not good.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's funny.
That sucks.
Yes, and see, I enjoyed Mark Grunwald's stuff. I really liked his stuff, and now I'm like, ooh, it just knocked down a tier or two, knowing that he's stealing other people's ideas and stuff.
Wow.
Well, Ricky, I already
told
you early on
in the comics where people.
I already told you early on, Ricky, that the Clone Saga for Spider-Man that's pretty freaking awful. So there you go.
A lot of people hate that.
Okay, I've got my finger poised over the leave meeting button so I can say this and run for the hills. I hated The Last Ronin.
Oh boy.
The Last Ronin.
And he ran. There we go. He's gonna watch after he left.
So
that's The Last Ronin is the TMNT story. I actually have not read the whole thing of that, so I don't really have a lot to say so. But I'm sure the people in the comments have some thoughts on that.
I'm going to make it even worse. I've never read a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic at all.
You've never read a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, huh?
I've read a few, but not many.
I haven't even seen the movies. Any of them.
Oh my goodness!
I like the movies.
Could you name two of the turtles?
I mean, they're Renaissance painters, so yes, Michelangelo, Raphael. That's it. I know they have that dude with the baseball bat, Casey Jones.
There you go. Leonardo and Donatello.
And Donatello. I know facts about them. I know at first they all didn't have different colored masks. It was only later on that they got the different colored masks. I'm sure Alan can tell us exactly the issue and
It's basically the second series. It's really easy. It's just the second series that they switched them out.
Yeah,
so,
but
interesting.
That's interesting to know that you haven't read. Mm-hmm. There might be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles graphic novel in a package to you at some point. There's an artist named Michael Zulli who did version of the turtles where it was more like if they were realistically turtles that were human sized.
I think I know the art
They
that you're
are.
talking about.
I think I actually know that one.
It's a storyline, and it takes place they're in hibernation, and Splinter has to come wake them up. He's like, I'm sorry to wake you, but Shredder is causing carnage, and so they're all slow. They can't hardly move. It's really good. Yeah.
See, all my reading was Marvel and DC for basically 20 years there. That was really just reading everything. And when Dark Horse came along in Image, yeah, I read some of that, but I never could get into it. I just went right back to Marvel and DC.
Yeah, I read more obscure stuff. I read all the Malibu stuff.
Good, there you go.
Malibu comics. It's like, well, yeah, it's not useful in any particular way.
So Alan, I think you've said on several occasions you talk about Marvel acquiring Malibu and saying that they just killed it. Marvel actually tried to make a go of Malibu, and they actually took characters from the Marvel universe. And they did kill it, but they tried to make a go of it at first. So they had Juggernaut went over; he was in the Malibu universe. Black Knight went over, and he was in the Malibu universe. Several characters went through a portal type of system where they ended up in the Malibu universe, and vice versa. And then they just said, "Nah."
So everything that made the Malibu universe cool, they Disneyfied it, if that makes sense. They
Marvel-fied it.
Marvel-fied it in this case. But yeah, no, they killed it in that respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they didn't just buy it and kill it off without a thought. They tried to make a go of it.
That's true. But it wasn't that long that they tried to make a go of it. I think it was like less than a year. But Malibu was huge. Like I'm not sure if you guys remember, but it was like the number 3. It was bigger than Image. And it was actually eating into Marvel's market share. So
no, I don't play as turtles in D&D now. Most of our stuff is really Tolkien, in that we've got just dwarves, elves, humans, those kind of things. So
did you ever play basic D&D?
Mm-hmm. So
the old models, yeah.
Yeah, when it first came out, Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax had the 3 brown books, and then after that, it's what you call the Mulvey edition, which was in the late 70s, which was what I was introduced in. It was still in effect. It was the first thing that was mass produced. The 3 brown books weren't mass produced for the consumption of everybody.
I had the red, blue, and like the different, those ones.
That was after the Mulvey edition. The Mulvey was the first one to go out, and it's what's that D&D shirt I wear with the magic user with the fireball and some kind of creature coming out of the water. Oh, okay. That was I guess the really first mass produced for the masses D&D. And then after that, it was the blue and the red books that you're talking about, the advanced. They call it.
But that was like 1979, 1980, somewhere around there.
The art on those first books is so, dare I say, kindergartenish.
Yes, and it's funny.
I like the style in a way, though.
I kind of like the style that they had.
Oh no, it has a nostalgia to me. I mean, that's my first experience with D&D too. But I was like, looking back on it, I go, wow, that's really bad.
I remember playing. He's saying first edition. I played a lot of first edition. That's when I was a teenager, and then it was college. I was playing second edition.
And then it became advanced D&D.
Yeah, you had the 1E was when they actually had the hardbound books with the monster manual. And
I should show you. I have like the Fiend Folio. I have all the.
I have all those. The only one that's a collector's item is the deities and demigods.
I have that.
I know why.
Do you have the one that has the Cthulhu gods in it? Because that's the one that they printed it, and they didn't have the rights to those characters, and that's the only one that's really worth something. Because they go, ooh, we printed
like that H.P. Lovecraft
stuff. So if it's got the Cthulhu gods in it, it's a rare edition.
I don't.
So most of them, there's very few out there, And
It's got the
so
Cthulhu gods, and it also lists Jesus Christ as a minor deity. And they
I
took
don't
both
think
of those things out.
no, that's one of those things that's not true. That was a rumor that was created that they said that was the reason they got rid of it, was that it doesn't. It's got the Cthulhu gods in it, and they did not have the rights to the character, and they printed them out, and they go, "Will you?"
Oh, so it didn't have that in it?
No, it didn't. That's a rumor that was the reason they discontinued it. And it's like, ooh, there's this book out there that has that in there, and it's not. That's not what it is. It's the fact that it's got H.P. Lovecraft characters in there that they didn't have the rights to. And that's
okay. So it did not have that content that I just
I'll
said.
have to check my book whether it has it or not.
Okay.
So that's what you need to look
I could have
for.
sworn a buddy of mine showed me that when I was in high school, but maybe not.
But I mean, I got that book when it came out. But it came out. We're talking in Canada, so it might have come out in the U.S. first, and then we'd get a different version.
It's funny that really what started me watching YouTube was D&D content, and I just consumed so much of it. And so there's those people that go really in depth into the history and all the editions and those kind of things. And again, I played it for over 40 years now, so I know a lot about the history of it and how it came about, and those kind of things.
Yeah, so, no, that's interesting. I mean, I learned something.
You bought into the false rumor.
Yes,
I bought into the false. It was probably propagated by them. My friend who told me about the religious right for people to take over the land from the people who couldn't defend themselves. But
there's a lot of comic book artists that also did a lot of art, especially for the superhero ones, like Champions. George Perez did a lot of art for the Champions.
Oh yeah.
He did a lot of art for that. And then trying to think of, there was another superhero role-playing game. Jeff D. Jeff D did a lot for the Villains and Vigilantes game. That came out in the early 80s. That's, the early 80s was when they just had an explosion of all different types of games. Once D&D became popular, then people were just, there was all different types. And
my friends and I, we played Champions, played the crap out of Champions. And then the Marvel Universe role-playing game when it came out.
Oh yeah. I went through and, converted all the DC characters, and that kind of thing. We just really went heavy when Marvel superheroes role playing, and it's an easy system to learn. It's very basic, and that's the entry drug for any role playing game. It's got to be very easy for
gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug. It's got to be very easy and conceptualized to get people in, and it's not a lot of rolling dice. It's just percentile dice. And then you've got a set damage that you do based on your strength or your energy type, and so it's real easy to use.
One of the things for me with D&D, it was I was always more focused on storytelling part of it, and I always hated when things got bogged down in dice rolls. I found that that's usually what killed the game in a way.
So that's more
so whenever I was DM, I tried to keep the dice rolling to a minimum and more like, what would you do in this situation, or where do you want to go in this world? Keep it more to that, where it's more.
White Wolf was what they really focused on, that where it was more about the storytelling and not about the dice rolls. They wanted.
Yeah, I mean, the only time it would be dice rolls is you encounter owlbear. You're gonna fight them.
There's been a with what's going on with D&D being owned by Hasbro now, that they're trying to almost make a monopoly on it. There's a renaissance now and people making their own gaming systems, and it seems to be more simple, like you said, fewer dice rolls, real easy damage to keep the story going instead of getting bogged down in the math and the mechanics. Nobody wants to see somebody sit there and roll a dice and try to add up. That's not fun, and that's not exciting.
And the thing that I like, for me, I liked the earlier editions up to AD&D. Once it got into the second edition, where then they had they had the the different character editions, like, you know, you have like your wizard's guide, you have your rogue's
Fighter's
guide, you have,
handbook.
yeah. And then all of a sudden it became like where people were just like spending most of the time saying, okay, I'm looking up all my ability, you know, all the things that this thing can do. And it's like, it was bogged down by, you know, very niche things that this random character could do, rather than just like, okay, let's just go through and have a little fight, use a spell, use a, you know, attack or whatever. I like to keep it roll initiative, pick your attack, like very.
Some people are even moving away from rolling initiative and just going to who you go by who has the highest dexterity, and you put those people in order around the table, and that way you can just go around the table and get back.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. That makes sense.
And then it makes it quick. You know who's next.
One less roll, like, of the dice.
The only reason.
So would you do in that case roll initiative between the monsters and the people though? Because sometimes, you know, are you surprised by this?
Right. And in those certain situations, we would do that. And then the monster would get one, you know, attack round or that kind of thing. And then we would go to where the monsters last.
First edition Scrabble is where it's at.
But the problem with Scrabble is the storytelling is very limited.
So I was going to bring it back to the Marvel Universe role playing game. I love that seeing Turk and Grotto in the Punisher series, because Turk and Grotto were the first guys that you fought in the Marvel Universe. They were the low level street thugs.
Yes,
and seeing them in the Punisher TV show, I was like, oh.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. Turk is the guy who keeps getting like his hand smashed in the trunk and all that.
Yes.
The Punisher's always picking on him. And Grotto was the guy, the mafia guy that turned on the Irish mafia. So
I have to watch the Punisher TV
it's
series.
so good.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, it's really, really good. God bless your wife is like, I give up.
Why that? Why?
Is she waiting for you? I guess maybe, I don't know.
No, so my wife is having fun on her own. That's why I'm able to talk. You know.
So that's what happened with Ricky's. What Ricky said, his wife was having a sleepover with her buddies.
She's just doing her own thing.
Having a ladies' night get together. So he's like, hey, I've got the night free. Let's talk. He's like, I want to stir the pot. Let's do controversy.
I'm good at being controversial though. That's my forte.
Bob Bless says, just joking. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
He says he's never played D&D. Nothing's against it. He just never did.
Yeah.
I like being DM. Are you a DM or are you more of a character?
We rotate, and so everybody has a turn. The guys that I usually play with are a little mad because the past couple times I haven't DM'd, because I will set up a story or I'll set up, you know, scenarios basically for them, because you never know what they're going to do. And they never take any bait that I give them. So there's just constant subplots just floating out there constantly. And so they kind of go off and do their own thing and they get involved in something else. And I'm like, the ones I'm playing with right now, they don't work well together. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Their characters.
Do they watch your videos?
Yeah, they watch it. Well, sometimes they do. Most of the people don't even know I have a YouTube channel. I don't think my wife knows I have a YouTube channel. And so they clash.
So you guys have to watch Mr. Aiken's video on his channel, playing Dungeons and Dragons with YouTube.
Oh, that was good. That was really well done. Or
comic book YouTubers.
Yeah. So it seems to work better when I'm playing, because I seem to fit my characters into things that they're creating. When I'm DMing, it seems like everybody's creating these individual characters that are not linked together and don't work well together. I seem to wait.
You have to be a party.
Yeah. And so when they roll up a character and they come up with a backstory, I go, ooh, I can do this and it'll fit in with yours and it'll fit in with yours. And everybody seems to be a more cohesive group when I'm playing as opposed to DM. I like to DM. It's just that I'm kind of burnt out on it. And they said, you haven't DM'd in the past couple of times. I said, I'm just not, let's play so-and-so. So
my DM style was like, just like the way I used to, I do public speaking, believe it or not. But I never actually have a script. I never go in. It's just like the way I do my YouTube videos. I never script it out. That's how I play my D&D. You know, you have your typical scenarios. You walk into a tavern, that typical scenario. Oh, what do you do? Like, you know, and I try to let it be a little bit free form where they can kind of pick things, and then based on what they pick, I try to set up potential
It's so weird how,
and then I always
like,
try to come up with a story that can become an arc that they could follow. So
it's so weird how, like, characters or players will grab onto certain, like, specific details that you'll. So, like, when I was DMing, I would be like, they'd be like, I'd be describing the. I'm like, you walk in, you guys come through the gates of a small city, blah blah blah, and they're like, what do we see? Is there anyone we can interact with? And I'm like, oh, there's an old woman with a small garden patch over here. She's selling some vegetables, blah 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 blah. And then immediately this one character latches onto the. I want to talk to the old woman in the garden patch and talk to her about her vegetables and herbs and blah 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 blah. And so we ended up coming up with this whole storyline where this woman's vegetables were being stolen, and it was goblins that were getting through the city walls at night, stealing the vegetables, and they were tracking them down. And this whole big long campaign spurred out of. I'm like, well, that's not where we were going, but okay.
Right. I specifically remember we used to, in second edition, we used to do a lot of Ravenloft. And one of the modules was basically a take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where, you know, the whole idea of a Ravenloft campaign is there's Dracula. It's their own personal, you know, purgatory. They're in hell in a sense, and they can't escape it. And there's a central character there. And
Ravenloft is the worst D&D setting to probably live in.
Right.
As a human.
And in that module, you know, the Dr. Frankenstein character, the whole reason he created Adam is because his wife has this debilitating disease and he's trying to cure her. So he's using he's going to the cemeteries and he's killing people to try to help cure her. Well, they get to that point, and there's one line in the module, and it says, no matter what he does, she will always live. And I'm like, okay, so they get there, they eradicate him, they kill him, and they go, we're going to cure her. And that lasted for 4 hours because they were like, well, we tried this. And I'm like, well, that didn't work. We're going to try this because of that one line says you can't cure her. So they basically took the place of the doctor. They were now living in this, and it really messed with their heads. They were like, okay, well, you know, one of them said, well, we just need to end her misery. And so they chop her head off. And I'm like, well, it just causes more. She's now in more pain. We're like, they didn't know what to do. And I can't even remember how we resolved it because we sat there and they debated for about 3 hours what they were going to do and how they were going to help her. And then they couldn't help her. And then they tried to burn her body, and that didn't work.
Oh, no.
It was just one thing after another. And they were just getting, it said,
there's a robot chicken like
afterwards, they said, that messed with our heads so much. And I said, it was just one line in that module that messed with them so bad.
There was
you guys know, what's his name? Comics and Food, Romuel.
Yeah.
Yes.
I won one of his giveaways.
Oh, really? I've won like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, I got
Feels so good.
So I just got a really nice high grade copy of Venom.
Wow. He gives out so much stuff. That guy is like, I don't know what he's doing.
Thanks.
And then I got a nice high grade Frank Miller Daredevil.
That's better.
That's really
yes,
cool.
I like that.
And then I got Ricky would like this. A Superpowers #1.
Yes.
Oh wow. I mean that's really awesome that he does this. Like he's such a good guy.
2 out of 3 isn't bad, Bigby. 2 out of 3 isn't bad.
I was like, you know,
that Lethal Protector was worth something like for a little
it's worth like $30.
Yeah, and if I had it, I'd sell it immediately.
I always saw it as a $1
you love Venom so much. I won, and he's like, well, Bigby wins, but if he wants to give it to somebody else, and I was like, heck no, I want it.
That's the way I am. I want the books.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Pablo says he bought that Daredevil off the spinner rack when he was 10 in 1982 with the Stop and Go. There you go.
Wow.
There you go. Well, are you guys tired? I'm sure you are. You guys are on the East Coast. All you guys are on the East Coast.
Yeah,
So I
we gotta-
appreciate you guys for hanging out. You guys are awesome. And I want to tell everybody in the audience, I appreciate all you guys for hanging out and for putting up with all of our chaos and confusion and
And Ricky's controversy.
shenanigans.
Richie's controversy. Yeah.
Not me.
Yes.
I'm not controversial.
He just
I'm
wanted to. He
nice
wanted to
guy.
get like. He's like, let's get it going. Let's get it going. Bob Bless says you're a trip, Alan. Lost Collector says night owls unite.
I'm not a night owl. I don't think I've been
Bob
up
Bless
this
says
late in a
Ricky
long time.
too. Well, I appreciate you hanging out, buddy. I know. I apologize to you for messaging you so late. I didn't even think you were going to come on. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's so late, dude. They kept me at work like literally later than I've worked in probably the last year. I was just like, yeah.
I'm surprised you were working so late.
Yeah, it's a paper factory that they're building, and we were doing. You know what ballards are? They're like these big metal poles that protect. Like they have them at gas stations, so you don't run into the gas pumps.
Oh yeah, so you don't run into the pumps. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those are filled with concrete.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to do that, they have to put the concrete in a bucket, take it over, and then scoop it in and fill the ballard all the way up. So
Oh man.
it took forever.
You're making me respect concrete much more, Biggie. I'm learning.
Colossus Collector says you've been on YouTube all night, Alan.
Alan
I know.
has
I was
been
actually just on another show. Like today I was on. I had 2 shows of my own, and then I was on
Biggie Shack.
Biggie Shack's channel. Now
Yeah,
it's on this one.
I was watching that and I got mad when you didn't win the second round with all those television show comics.
I was trying to be. I was like, this was
our
second.
That was perfect, and I'm like, if Alan doesn't win, I'm gone.
Nobody was
You didn't
feeling
win,
me
and I left. When you didn't win, I left.
Nobody was feeling me. So I was trying to do like this is our second time doing Silver Age, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first time we just showed Grail books. Let's just show every Grail book. And I showed, it was AF-15s, Hulk 1s, and big books after big books. And so what I wanted to do is get away from that and say, hey, there's other cool things. And, I wanted to show, that's why I showed the, like, I Love Lucy, Bewitched.
I Dream of Genie, Star Trek #1. I was like, dude, that is so cool. These are the
coolest shows. Like, and I just wanted to show that little bit of comic/TV history. I don't know.
Nobody voted for you either. I was like, this is a sham. I'm gone.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. I'm not. I get no love. So yeah.
Oh, we love you, Alan.
And then the funny thing is, at the last round that I lost, I showed all big books. I'm like, okay, I'll show first appearance of Ant-Man. Like all these big books. Nobody appreciated it. I got 0 votes. It was like I get no love. It's so sad.
Colossus Collector says no, people never feel heavier. So.
He was getting. I liked his green covers.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
a lot of green today. I have to say.
I saw Mon Comics picked up your first appearance there, Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
there was an issue, one of those red circle sorceries, Alan.
Yeah, you were showing
inside.
That,
right? There's a picture of
Colossus.
Of Colossus.
This is Collector. Not Colossus, but Colossus.
It's me. Yes, Colossus Collector. But anyway, if we just keep talking like this, we'll never end. So
I got to get up in the morning, figure out where Jason Aaron lives, and roll his yard.
There you go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Mr. Akins, for being here. Thank you, Alan, for being here. And thank you to Ricky for being here. And appreciate all you guys. And share your love of comics with everyone you meet. You never know where it may lead you.
Wait, we're still live.